I'm calling the Selectboard Sewer Commissioners meeting to order. I'm yelling. All members are present. This meeting will be held in a virtual and hybrid setting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. I just want to test to see if I'm still echoing. Is it now? It's just the sound of my voice? Fine. All right, so the first item on the agenda is public comment. So this is a 15-minute period, which is an opportunity for the public to address any of their concerns or questions regarding town operations and programs. Except in urgent circumstances, any matter presented for consideration to the board shall not be acted on or discussed and could be placed on a future date. Does anyone have any public comment? Wow. All right, you get. Don't dismiss me. Do you have sourdough? No. Okay. Going first.
Can I ask? Before then, we do have the secretary, right?
Yeah, we're doing public comment. That's what I was going to say. I already asked him about that a second ago.
You are the reason. Okay.
All right.
Okay, Alessa Ashwell, 139 Woodland Street. First, I wanted to say that I support and voted for the creation of the Enterprise Trash Fund. Before that vote, I researched private hauler costs and found that what the town had negotiated is a much better rate than I can get individually. And I'm grateful for that option and for the work that all of the town boards and committees have put into the program so far. I think it's a really wise idea for the town to treat trash as a public utility rather than as a budget item that could be cut in the future when we don't have enough funds, or something that constantly needs an override to continue funding. Especially for families like mine that don't want to haul their trash, or elderly people, it's just great to have as a service in town. And I think draws people here. However, after seeing a lot of public discourse on Facebook, where you see all the things, I think it is clear that a lot of people are both confused and against the continued use of the pay-as-you-throw bags as part of the future funding model. Given that the new trash contract will not let us place any bags outside of the soon-to-be-issued trash cans, pay-as-you-throw kind of seems obsolete, because what you're really saying is pay-as-you-throw as long as you can throw it in this one bin. So personally, I would highly encourage the board to consider in their discussions tonight increasing the proposed billed trash fee overall and doing away with the pay-as-you-throw bags, which I believe you can still do. I think that a lot of people are just very confused because they feel like they're getting charged twice. Whereas if that cost went up some, they get one bill and they might have a lot less confusion about what's happening. And, you know, those bags are kind of lousy. That's my 2 cents. So anyway, hopefully you'll take that under consideration. Thanks.
Will you bring sourdough the next time you come to a select board meeting?
I'll even put little trash can shapes in anything.
That's fine. Thank you. She agreed to that on recording. I have the recording.
Never met that woman in my life.
Michael Connors, 393 Lancaster Street. Just to piggyback on what Ms. Ashwell just said, I totally agree with everything. I support the enterprise fund. I understand that costs of everything across the board, groceries, utilities, vehicle maintenance, home maintenance is going up across the board, and we have to keep up with that. So that being said, I do feel that the trash in town and the options presented is still a better deal than hiring a private hauler. That being said, I agree that personally it would simplify things by being able to have the bins and throw whichever bags you want. And I know you can't answer my direct question, but I would love to know, if the board discusses it, has it been discussed what that difference would be? Because if it's, you know, say $30 a month arbitrarily and it goes up to $35 a month, it may be in their best interest to do that. If it goes up to $50 a month, I can see how that's unfair and inequitable to, say, a senior that only produces 1 small bag a week versus me, a family of 4 that produces 3 or 4 small bags, or sometimes in the summer when we entertain and have cookouts, it might be 2 large bags. So I was just wondering if any studies have been done to see what the delta would be if we were to try to do away with the pay-as-you-throw bags. appreciate, I know a lot of people have worked very hard on this, and I'm not trying to persuade anybody to go backwards. I was just wondering if that study had been done, if there's any data that might speak to that. Thank you.
You just, you know, you got him going. All right, come on, Mark. Can you tell me
Thank
your
you.
name?
Mark Frieden, 8 Pinewood Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to have public comment. Always love it and hate it. I agree on the support of the solid waste curbside pickup program, but I would be in favor of keeping the bags, because it's kind of the equalizer if you have a lot of trash or no trash, and I would do anything to keep the monthly fee as low as possible for people that put out almost no trash. Like if they barely put out a bag, then a roll of bags is gonna go far for them anyways. I'd rather not charge them an extra $5 a month or whatever, I don't even know how much it is. But I would be in favor of keeping the fee as low as we could and having the bags make up the difference. Oh, and the bags, I understand pay-as-you-throw programs keep this is what I understand from previous presentations a long time ago. The pay-as-you-throw bags keep the amount of tonnage down and promote recycling. So if we do get rid of the bags and people stop recycling as much and our tonnage goes up, not only will our fee be without the bag revenue, but it will also go up because of additional tonnage, perhaps. There you go.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, you can do, this public comment. You can say whatever you want. Well, you can say that, and, I mean, actually, you can just say whatever you want. I wouldn't stop you. Go ahead, come on. Both of you, come on up. You just have to say your names, where you live, your social security number, and routing number.
Yeah, no. Catherine Callahan, 199 Fairbanks Street, West Boylston, cemetery trustee.
Barbara Mard, 181 Prescott Street, cemetery trustee.
Could you guys just move your, the mics closer to you? My meeting at the senior center this morning, that was feedback I did receive at this morning's meeting. So please tell me what you ladies would like to give for comment. Can you do one at a time, or?
I think we just want to keep the interest of the cemetery in the forefront. This is ongoing since I've been on the board for almost a year. As you know, we're running out of space. We have other needs in town. It's difficult to get together and speak about where we're at this point. We have $126,000 in grant money to spend, and there's a time constraint on that. We've identified a couple of lots. It just kind of goes nowhere. But I think what we did, the consensus was, we want a contiguous lot. And we thought that perhaps where the DPW property lies would be contiguous and cost-effective going forward. Please consider that and to utilize those funds to do whatever prep work needed.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. Today I reread the grant document that was originally $130,000. We did spend $5,000 on Tiverton Drive, clearing some trees and doing some, with the town, some holes. And there's 125 left, and I don't know what your thoughts are about spending that. Are you looking at spending that in other places than with the cemetery interest, in conjunction with other people that are needing land? It's not clear what the plan is that's on your minds.
I think we have an agenda item.
That's why it is on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't really have a strong feeling about not using the money. It's, in reality, $125,000 isn't a whole lot of money in this to build any of the required. It would be helpful to us if everybody is hell-bent on us going with Paul X Tiverton Drive because of the vote at town meeting, then maybe we should get off the dime and use that money, or a portion of that money, to get some engineering done and get some positive results, not necessarily positive, but some real results of what the situation is over there, and then move forward.
Okay. I thank you for that, and I will say it is on the agenda tonight, so we will get to that topic as part of our regular programming.
Okay.
But thank you
I do
both.
agree that contiguous would be great.
I would, as soon as I get through public comment, I'm gonna mess up the agenda like I always do for every meeting, go completely out of order and aggravate everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Did that entice anyone to stand up and, no? Ray? No? Okay. Anyone online? Hearing none. Going once, twice? Public comment is closed. This means you can't say whatever you want to me during the meeting. All right, next item on the agenda is to approve warrants period covering February 19th to March 4th as listed in the, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Next item on the agenda is to approve, we have the February 4th meeting minutes, the regular session in February 18th meeting minutes. Do you want to, we can do them together unless someone has changes or recommendations?
I'll make a motion to approve them both.
Perfect. Do I have a second?
Second, but I do just want to comment, I think that these meeting minutes are excellent. I think you did a really great job, whoever did them. So, okay, she did a great job.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. All right. I am going to have our town administrator do the introductions and appointments next, and then I'm going to do the cemetery after that, and then we will go to the hearing.
First, I would like to introduce to you tonight, for those who have not yet met her, Maria Lagarde, if you stand up, please. She's only been with us a week, so I want to let her get a little bit more situated, and then we'll bring her in through the meetings and such.
Raj just likes to throw him in, that's why he wanted her in the seat. He stopped the meeting. No, I understand, but,
She also is
Just
drinking from a fire hose this past week.
well, if you've been here a week here in West Boylston, we assume you know everything.
Of course.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
And
you have one more? Or-
I have submitted to you for your consideration the appointment of, please forgive me if I don't get this correct, Drupati Singh, who we all know as Anna.
Yep.
She's in the assessor's office currently, has been doing yeoman's work, trying to pitch hit in ours as well, and plugging a few holes here and there. She applied during the internal candidate period that is prescribed in your bylaw. She did speak to me ahead of time to understand and get my permission to apply. And she has satisfied the initial probationary period in her current position. She would be subject to your action tonight, starting in the Treasurer Collector's Office as of March 2026. That would give 1 week for her to work with the retiring Assistant Collector. Should you act favorably upon this, Cheryl understands there's still assessing work to be
Yep.
taken care of. We're still struggling a little bit in the executive offices. But Cheryl understands that we would need to cooperate to make sure we can get all those things done. And we would advertise, as soon as possible to fill the assessor's position. So you have, you can vote to ratify, you can vote to disapprove, you can vote to table it. Your pleasure.
The only thing, I'm just looking at this really quick, what was the, I see that it's effective March 20th, 2026. What was the job rate that was posted for this, for the job online?
I'm afraid I
position?
don't have that in front of me.
But it's within that, whatever it
It's-
was.
It's within the rate that was posted, and
Okay.
it will be consistent internally within that office itself.
Okay, so it's not something that there's an additional, okay, so,
It's essentially the same rate of pay as the employees are
Right.
currently earning in order to maintain internal consistency within the treasurer collector's office.
okay. Raj?
Yes. She's in a part-time job, right?
Yes,
So she's moving as a part-time or a full-time?
full-time, well, your full-time's 32 and a half hours, so she will be moving from that 19 and a half hours to the 32 and a half hour position.
Okay, thank you.
Jay? I have no questions, Vanessa? No. David?
No questions?
Is there a motion to ratify and approve the appointment?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. I was waiting for him to tell me we had to say something else, but he didn't, so I'll keep going. All right, so, next item we are gonna discuss is for the cemetery. This item is the $125,000 that is remaining from a grant that the town received. And it came just a little bit, you were away, Carter, it had come back to the board, there was some questions, townwide planning had met, and there were some questions on, you know, the position of, does the select board really have the right to supersede a town meeting vote, right? So the voters said, we want this land and we want to use it for a cemetery, so there were some questions while you were away on that topic. And that's kind of, it wound up rolling to, I think, today. But just as a quick, you had confirmed with me that $125,000 can be used to, one, test the current site that, to see if it's even usable for a cemetery. To, also, we could use those funds to test other sites that the cemetery has brought up. And third, we could use those funds to really do, I think, help the cemetery commission with like a cemetery master plan of where should we build it, what should it look like, what's the right fit for the town of West Boylston, so that we're kind of out of this weird game of, I'm gonna say pickleball, because that was a hot topic the other day, so this weird game of ping pong. Did everything I say sound correct?
Yes, exactly. So with respect to Tivden, as I think member Raj had pointed out, should you go someplace else, it's extremely important to be able to address to the town meeting why you're going someplace else. Did you look at Tivden? What caused you to change your mind? You can hire a firm. There's relatively few of them, but they are out there, who will work with the cemetery commission to establish exactly, you know, what kind of facility are you thinking about going forward. You know, the three major being your standard burial, cremation, and now sprinkling gardens. And I think there's some other things, green burials, and some other things that, so you can help them retain that person. With that knowledge, you can look at other lands, especially if you're trying to really zero in on a land. I think I've talked you through the two main methods of acquiring land under Chapter 30B. So you can do all these things. If you want to do any of them, the Cemetery Commission and I need your sense of direction.
So, in hearing from folks, and this has been on for a while, my thought to the board, and everyone you can object or give me your thoughts, my thought was that we make a few motions tonight. One, to maybe hand this back to the town administrator to work with the commission on a few different, for next steps or recommendations. My other one was to kind of help keep this going, because I'm worried that in 2 months from now, you guys are gonna say, hey, do you remember the cemetery? And we're gonna say, we're trying to survive till town meeting. And so my thought is, could we make a motion to authorize a portion of the funds be used to hire someone to do the master plan and have that be a motion and have that through you to manage. To have a motion to test some of these sites using some of those funds. And
You might want to consider it simply, as fairly simply.
I'll take it, anything you got.
To authorize me to proceed to engage a qualified professional engineer to undertake the review of Tiverton Drive and to work with the Cemetery Commission to try to retain a firm to do that master planning. With those two firms under hire, if we can get that done relatively quickly, we could then issue additional work orders to the engineering firm that we retained. And then as additional lands became available, they would either be able to look at site-specific or they'd be able to say, we need this kind of land. It has to be this, this, and this, so that when they go to buy it without going through the open procurement under 30B, remember, if you don't do an open procurement under 30B, you have to at least be able to explain what was it that you're looking for and why is it that only that specific parcel fit it.
Carter, I don't know if anyone on this board is going to be able to restate every word you just did as part of the motion.
I would respectfully suggest a motion authorizing me to procure and engage engineering services to review Tiverton Drive and to procure services for master planning in conjunction with the Cemetery Commission.
And they, yes, like that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Do we have any idea how much it may cost for a engineering survey?
Not at this point, no, I do not, and I would not want to hazard a
So
guess.
can you let me know what is a master plan means, what we going to do with that?
So the firm or more that I'm talking about, they'll work with the Cemetery Commission, they'll look at the number of burials they've had, they'll look at the growth, which in this community is relatively limited. They'll talk about what kind of facility does the Cemetery Commission want to have. Are they open to a burial? Do they want burial only? Are they open to cremation? Are they open to a columbarium? Are they open to a sprinkling garden? And then they will project it really take to accommodate what the Cemetery Commission wants to do and are the particular elements of that land. If you're doing a sprinkling garden, ledge doesn't matter. If you're doing a columbarium, ledge matters. So, they would work through, because a particular parcel of land might have some ledge, but also have land suitable for direct burials.
Can we force them to do certain type of burial?
I'm sorry, what?
Can we force them to do just the burial or the
Portion?
cemetery? Force the people to choose what kind of burial they want to do it? Is it
The
allowed?
statute says you must provide space for burials. I think that there would be a lot of pushback if you didn't accommodate. When that statute was written, that's 90% of people were probably direct burials.
Yeah.
I think you're what, about 50-50 now, Barb, did you tell me? And it's growing. Nationally, that's growing. So I think personally, that's a policy decision for the cemetery and for this board, but I wouldn't consider it a good PR move.
I have a question. So I know we talked a little bit about other parcels. Do you think if there's any money left over in the fund, could we look at, do you want to test the DPW area that, the part where they had all their stuff that hopefully now to be tested per se? Is that something we should use it for because it's closest to the cemetery? And then also I know we had talked about just looking into the senior center way back lot too. Is that also another site that while we're talking about it, we might want to explore?
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could just continue with our cemetery and not go anywhere? If the DPW moves, the fire department moves, there's a lot of space back there where there's I don't know what you would call it.
I was gonna say, could I have you come up to the mic, because no one could hear you on the Zoom? Sorry, I know, you gotta, I was like, feedback today, coffee hour at the senior center was my feedback. And I would let everyone know, I did lie to you, I didn't realize that we had a public hearing before the trash meeting that we're gonna take next, because I think the person in the front row is here for that. All right, go ahead.
It's rare that people say they can't hear me.
You're being awful quiet today, so I think you saved yelling this morning for me, but thank you.
I forgot where we are.
You'd love to use the DPW.
That would be wonderful, but I don't know how fast anything is going to move. You know, there's so many things that depend on this, depend on this, depend on this. So we don't want to lose that money for us and for the town, and we really would like to just continue on where we are, but it also makes sense to do what Carter has says, hire an engineering firm, let's get the testing done at Tibnan Drive at the most reasonable rate we can, and see how that turns out. I don't know if the weather has anything to do with it, but
Well, I would say as a good thing, I know you mentioned those two, but if that can fit into your plan,
We can do anything this board wants to do if you would
don't say
just
that, Carter. Not to
kindly,
me.
with respect to this 125,000
Let you make a,
and the suggested motion that we've put before you, with the cooperation of the Cemetery Commission, I think we can do a vast majority of these things once we have a sense of direction from this board.
Yeah, I like the idea of the
I
engineer.
have one more question. Have you looked into the high plane, at least
Yes.
temporary?
yes, we have
They said
a
no?
couple of times, and they are not interested in,
Even the, earlier they said no, but
they're still
at this
saying
time,
no. Yeah, it's still
we
saying
have a
no.
problem. So they do have a land, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know how much they actually have left, but it's private, and they're not interested in joining us.
So for me to understand, we have like a 240 lots left, right?
Correct.
Something around.
Correct.
How many years it will come? 4 years?
4 or 5 years, yeah. Yeah.
all right.
May I
Any-
ask
yeah.
one more, while we have someone from the cemetery committee up here? Just a hypothetical, let's say we were able to acquire, say, round number, 2 to 4 acres, which obviously is not a huge amount from a cemetery standpoint, but in the context of the ledge situation where it was maybe suitable for cremation burials, would the cemetery committee consider reserving our current cemetery just for burials and consider using a new property just for cremations? Or that type of altered, divided, if you will, use, such that we know that the land currently in our cemetery is suitable for traditional
Full
burials.
burials,
Right, but if we're limited in what we can acquire, but if we're able to acquire something that meets the needs for some subset of the population, that's probably not the long-term fix, but it seemingly buys you all time.
Right.
So
Well,
something for
there's-
consideration.
There's certain places in our current cemetery where we could do some things that were just cremations because it takes very little space in comparison. We have a hill right now that's just cremations. We're up to talking about anything that solves the problem. We're
Okay.
certainly open-minded about it, and if you have a suggestion, but I can tell you that individuals in our town that own property are not interested in selling it to us for a portion of the assessed value. I know I wouldn't, and I don't think that we should hang our hat on any of that.
Sure.
Just,
All right, I'm gonna try it one more time. Anyone from the board have any other questions? Hearing none, we have to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. You can stay if you'd like. You could stay too. All right, so David, do you want to read the public hearing notice?
One second, please. West Boylston Select Board, acting as the town's Board of Sewer Commissioners, gives notice that it will hold a public hearing on the proposed revisions to the town's existing sewer betterment and privilege fees in order to promote clarity as to how the calculations are to be made and applied and the charges calculated. The hearing will be held Wednesday, the 4th of March, 6 p.m., or as soon as thereafter as the agenda permits, in the Select Board Meeting Room at Town Hall, West Boylston, Massachusetts, 01583. The purpose of this hearing is to receive public comment on both the overall intent and the specifics of the proposed regulations. These proposed regulations may be viewed at westboylston-ma.gov/sewers, and paper copies may be found at the Board of Health in Town Hall and Beaman Memorial Public Library during normal business hours. Any interested person may submit written comments and questions on this matter by email to our town administrator's email address as listed prior to the opening of the public hearing by order of West Boylston Select Board and Sewer Commissioners, posted. And we have the dates already listed.
All right. You're welcome. So it's opening. Carter, I think this is the first public hearing we've done with you as our town administrator, and I've realized every town administrator does it a little different. How would you like to run this
The
public
board's
hearing?
pleasure, I would like to touch upon why I brought these before you, what comments we've received to date, and then ask you to open the public hearing.
Okay.
The current regulations that you have, from our standpoint, from our view, do not have a standard by which to calculate the business flow. It does say what the flow should be in order to equal a unit, but it doesn't describe how that should be calculated. The proposed regulations add the Title V Massachusetts DEP standards as that criteria. There was a lack of cost recovery for peer review of the calculations. So if someone came in and calculated it all, we were essentially kind of stuck accepting whatever they gave us. The proposed regulations do require the payment of a fee that should be sufficient for us to engage someone to look at the calculations and say, yes, they look good, or no, they're not quite right, question how they were done. There was a lack of flexibility when it came to variations in the building layout, and this was driven really by the issue of 160, I believe it's Hartwell Ave. 5658. And so, as the Public Works looked at it, it was gonna have X numbers of meters, and so they're saying, well, every one of those meters, but that doesn't necessarily calculate flow correctly. So irrespective of meters, we're suggesting that it be done on the basis of the total building. It'll still be billed upon the pace of the individual meters. The other issue is that we have proposed a section that does two things that we think are in the public interest. The first is to clarify how accessory dwelling units would be dealt with. They're not addressed in these regulations at all. You do have a limited ADU within your zoning, but now we also have the statewide by right ADUs. It's our proposal that they be exempt in the interest of keeping costs down towards the production of affordable housing. Every ADU that hopefully mom or someone else moves into hopefully opens up a house for the housing market, and this is other low-cost, a measure towards housing production. Now, some of the staff disagrees with me completely, so it becomes an issue of, is it public policy, or do we just want the money? You know, it's kind of the balance. Finally, we have built in an ability, should this board deem it desirable, for you to waive or abate the sewer connection fee under certain conditions. Perhaps you want to generate affordable housing and you are a partner in trying to get that developed. Perhaps there's a grant requirement and rather than showing cash, you show abatement of some of these fees. We circulated that to the chair of the planning board, to the property owner that had really kind of driven this discussion, and to the DPW staff. Got a series of comments back and forth. I know you got some at your last meeting, I believe, as well. And other than that, we've not received any other comments to date. So that is what drives us to be before you tonight, how we've tried to address those issues, and how we went about gaining comment to date.
All right, so with that information, I'd like to formally open the public hearing for comment. If anyone to step forward, Mike, state your name, your address, and provide some background, that would be great.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Patrick McCarty, 42 Tucker Drive in Leominster. And as Carter just alluded to, I was the unfortunate guinea pig of this discussion because of the buildings that we're currently building on Hartwell and Shrewsbury Street. And as he alluded to, there was really no way to calculate what the sewer privilege fee was. And unfortunately, that resulted in our client paying at least 4 extra fees for the current buildings, because without payment of those fees, there was no sign off on the building permit and he couldn't proceed with construction. So that unfortunately is water over the dam at this point. We do have a pending building permit application for the fit out of the last building, which is the 115 Shrewsbury Street building. And that permit's held up until the board, the sewer commissioners make a decision one way or another. I thought we were gonna get the go-ahead to proceed with construction pending tonight's meeting, and then under the regulations or the new proposed regulations, but unfortunately that happened. So we're at a standstill. So we appreciate the time and effort and energy that everybody's put into this. And, you know, we were essentially co-authors of this with Carter. So that myself as a professional engineer, looking at it from the design and developer perspective, and Carter obviously looking at it on behalf of the town. I think it's fair. I think it's the calculations are very straightforward, same calculations we would do as if we were designing a septic system. And then, you know, I propose the requirement that it's done by a professional engineer. So tomorrow, when I do the calculations for 115 Shrewsbury Street, my professional engineering stamp will be at the bottom of that. And I understand that they propose a peer review, and that's great, but, you know, that should carry some weight and hopefully smooth this process out so that myself or anybody else in my role as an engineer or a builder is not back and forth with Tom and Kerry trying to figure this out to get to a building permit, because it's beneficial to my client who's investing in the buildings. It's also beneficial to the town because of the 8 units that we have a permit submitted for, 5 of them are leased. So that's 5 new businesses coming to town. That's 5 new people eating lunch at local restaurants. That's more excise tax for vehicles that are registered there. So it's beneficial to the developer and the town to resolve this so these projects continue to go, and we're not running around in circles trying to chase a signature for a building permit. So that was a long way of saying thank you. I think the regulations make sense. I think they're understandable and interpretable, and I'm hoping that the commission can act on them this evening so that we have some clarity moving forward. Thank you.
Question.
Sorry.
I tried to get away,
Too
Raj.
quick, that's okay.
So I understand that, 220 gallons
Yes,
is the sewer flow for the one connection, right?
correct.
So how do we know, if you are, so that one single building has 3 units?
Mhm.
So down the road, if the sewer flow rate increases,
Yep.
are you going to come
So
back?
I actually suggested language that was added, I believe that's still in the draft?
Item 4, I believe.
Yeah, so I
changing
suggested
use.
language that's entirely in the town's benefit, that says if a building goes under substantial renovation or alterations, then new calculations have to be done. And an example of that would be if someone built a 100,000 square foot warehouse building, and you look at Title V, and warehouse is 5 gallons per day per person. warehouse might have 5 people in it on forklifts buzzing around, right? So that would only qualify as 1 unit. If that building got converted to manufacturing, like Curtis, like Cogmetics, like Columbia Tech, and now you have 300 people, 200 or 300 people in that building, then that flow would be substantially different. And so that conversion would trigger a calculation and a payment of additional fee to the town. So
Who is going to be the gatekeepers?
the building department, so the process is already established in the building department that when I submit the plans and affidavits and application to the building department, through the portal, that gets submitted to everybody, police, fire, Board of Health, DPW, and they all have to check yes online before Chris will give me a permit, despite my begging and daily nagging of her, I can't get a permit until every department's checked off.
I hope
And-
that will work. Thank you.
It should. Thank you.
Any other questions before we free him? Because the moment he gets up, we'll. Hearing none?
Okay.
Anyone online? You have questions? I'm Mark. Come on the hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We'll get on anything. I'll go anywhere.
Under 5 minutes, Mark.
Okay, we'll try.
Now can it happen?
I agree with what he said. I didn't know he drafted the language that also protects the town. I had read the item 4, which upon change of use, it is the building inspector that's supposed to flag the additional fees possibly, or at least the analysis for change of use. I think that's good. I think so I like the way this changed. I know that, whatever, you mentioned that other people in town or departments may not like it, but I think it is business friendly. It lets people start their businesses with whatever they want. And then if they move, the town is still protected and able to recover additional fees if it becomes a very water intensive occupant. I do like for now that it does say ADUs are exempt, because we don't really know what's going on there. We might as well leave it simple so that it doesn't get complicated with, whatever, people who build their ADUs, but they're just splicing into the existing sewer line. And I don't see any reason to make that more complicated right now. They'll pay the rate, the usage rate, but they just won't get another fee. I think that's good to leave stated like it is. I do like the other part, which is about the affordability. You get to, like when, I think it came up with the Jake's 40B, where there are 80 units, and that would be a lot of, that'd be a high fee if you were to charge 80 sewer fees. But in this policy, you're allowed to exempt them or reduce the fee or do other things. I'm not aware if you already have, but I think this is a decent policy to accommodate all the different situations in town. It does also address residential, that's the ADU part. And I'd also be in favor of settling this all down so that I don't get calls from him about what's going on with the sewer thing, you know.
Well, if it's gonna make your life easier, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I might keep it.
That's the reason to do it, that's the reason to do it.
All right. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. That's your long-winded way of saying you're in support of everything.
I am, and I read it. The other thing is that I read it.
If I
Just
have a
killing it today. All right.
question for town admin, on this. The gentleman and I luckily got to have a back and forth conversation. Last time he came to sort of hash out some of the methodology for why we want to reassess that way, which was, I think, a very constructive conversation. One thing that occurred to me is that I don't think we have any line or stipulation currently that says that if we suddenly see a significant uptick in that water department billing, if you will, let's say we see a 10x increase, but they have not pulled a permit to, say, remodel the building, do we need to have a clause that says that can trigger us to essentially go investigate if the tenant has made substantial alterations?
Well, if the tenant has made he comes in, she comes in, gets it permitted.
Right, my
If
concern is
there's any
that,
changes
Yeah.
in use or new building permits required, they're supposed to get a building permit. And the building inspector would require that it be recalculated. Should they make changes, which we perhaps detect through water usage, police reports, or some other activity report, the first thing we're gonna do is have the building inspector go out, take a squint at it, And if he determines that in fact something has happened, and they have made a change from the original application.
Right.
He's gonna issue them a cease and desist in order to do something, and that will then trigger the review under this.
Okay,
paragraph.
so then we don't need additional language for that, but that mechanism sort of already exists by, if we see something very outlandish in water usage compared to what, you know, we had believed it would be, that kind of thing.
Somebody might have to say to the building inspector, whether it's the police department, hey, we've seen a lot of extra activity on here. We're not quite sure what's going on. Or perhaps, you know, when they prepare, we won't see the water bills, but we will see the water bill in order to prepare the sewer bill. We'll see the water billing file. So when somebody looks at that and does the pre-billing audit, they might say, whoa, that number's really up. We better give the building inspector a shout out.
Okay.
So we have a couple different ways to do this. The other thing is that I do think, and I think that's been this board's policy, to periodically go through these different policies and see how they're working. I would like to think that when things aren't working, boards and commissions will come to you for revisions. But I'm relatively comfortable with what we have here. I think it covers
Okay.
the situation.
No, I think, well done. And then, so I'm clear, on the topic of the ADU, are we including that within the same scope as this hearing? Is that correct, or is that a separate item?
This proposed regulation exempts ADUs, whether they are developed under your current zoning or they are developed under the state statute. Now, the way I write regulations is I talk with people, I write them, I circulate them once, twice, in this case thrice because of the comment made. And whenever a staff member or someone disagrees, it's my name on the memo, but I do try to make you aware of what that point of view is. I want the staff to feel comfortable that, he didn't accept what we said, but at least he made the board aware of it.
So when I initially looked at the concept of a full exemption for ADUs versus, I think, you know, the current rate was $5,500 a year at this point for someone building a new residence. You know, I do understand the want to be thoughtful about helping those that are looking to put an ADU on their property to lower the burden to that. But I am concerned that that does leave the regular ratepayers in the town shouldering the additional usage on the sewer system as a result. What I had wondered is, would us modifying from completely exempt to a 1/5 the going rate be maybe something that is both economical, still in the long run for the person putting up the ADU, but doesn't ask the rest of the town who are paid into it from their primary residence to shoulder that whole cost. So I guess I'm wondering if that more nuance for both parties.
You can do, anything that you can do to encourage the production of affordable housing, particularly in this community which has so little land. I do believe it's worth 100% abatement. If this board feels that it needs to charge something to at least be able to answer that question of other use payers, 1/5, 1/4, obviously the lower the better. But I propose and you dispose, you know, I mean, it's whatever you all think's right, because you have to balance these things out. 1/5, 1/4, I'd be fine at that.
What do other towns do?
I did not research that, because whatever they do, I believe the production of affordable housing.
I believe we have someone from both affordable housing and the planning that if you would like to.
Okay, I am, but I have not spoken to either of the boards about this, so I don't want to represent them. And my dear, I'm speaking as Mark, with knowledge of whatever's going on, but not in discussion with those boards. I would say about the ADU, oh, that's my wife, hold on. The ADU does not actually burden the sewer system that much. If it were, I mean, it would probably be an apartment building or something like that, and they would still be paying, because the language just says, shall not be charged a separate privilege fee. So, I mean, the property already is connected to the sewer. I mean, if they are in fact building, I don't know, something that requires a drain layer to put in a huge sewer pipe, okay, let's think about it. But that's not really an ADU. An ADU just cuts into the, I would imagine, cuts into the sewer line that's there so that they don't have to dig up the road. So I would still sit with, you know, letting them not have a fee and just paying the usage for the sewer. That was just my opinion on through the chair.
It's a public comment, so you can say.
Just a question for the court. How do they pay if somebody is living in the accessory apartment or ADU? Do
So
they have to pay the sewer rate for the main people?
let's take an example of a single-family home
Yeah.
that has a garage attached to it. Under the current regulations, they would come in for a building permit, and that would be considered a residential unit, and they would pay the 5,000 and change. And they would most likely connect to the sewer system for the house. The water usage will go up to some extent, and they would then pay the sewage bill based upon the water bill, based upon that usage. Does that
It will
answer
be
your
separate,
question?
so if you have an accessory apartment, you're not running a separate connection for,
The odds are you would not be running a separate
so you're
sewer
gonna,
line.
it's gonna be the main house that it's going unless you run a separate connection for every accessory apartment, which I don't think we have any planning or zoning bylaws that require that.
Or
And
do
we
a
can't do
DPW
it per the
cuttings.
state. Yeah, I was gonna say, you'd have to, they'd all have to do hookups.
The odds are they would hook into the existing sewer line
Okay.
for the house.
So you wouldn't be able to establish if it was at two different. Any further discussion on this? Well, not further discussion, any other public comment online, in person, from the board? Yeah, go for it.
Mike Connors, 393 Lancaster Street, and this is purely a coincidence. Professionally, I'm actually working on an ADU in a different community. And just to provide a little bit of feedback on how other communities are handling it, we were allowed, so basically I'm creating an ADU above an existing freestanding detached garage. And as long as we tied into the main house sewer within 25 feet of the existing dwelling, they waived the fee. So that's how one other community in Central Mass is handling it.
If I can ask a follow-on question for that. So that, them hooking into the existing sewer became essentially a requirement for it to fall under an ADU umbrella, per se, and if they, it was.
There were other factors which led us to want to do that. So
Okay.
if there's wetlands closer to the street, and if we ran a separate sewer line in this specific instance, we would have had to have gotten conservation relief.
Okay.
So that was one of the factors why we went that route, but in talking to the sewer department in that particular town, it was kind of a happy compromise that that's how they enforced it.
Okay, thank you. Carter, then my only other, I guess, then consideration is that, you know, if the ADU is going in and they can tie into the existing, then I'd say waiving it is great. But if they're unable to tie into the existing and they need to then tie back into the main, then I don't think we should be willing to fully waive that. So I think it depends on where the tie-in happens. That's how we should personally weigh whether there is some sewer privilege fee or none. And I could still see discounting it for an ADU, but if there is work that has to happen onto our main sewer lines, at that point, the town's gonna end up incurring some, the inspections that have to happen after, et cetera. So at that point, the ratepayers and the rest of the town would be essentially subsidizing that. So that's the balance I'm looking to
If
strike.
I'm hearing correctly, ADUs which are able to connect into the existing sewer line using the existing sewer connection would possibly be exempt under what we're talking about.
Yes.
But ADUs which require a new sewer line and a new sewer connection, you're physically cutting into the line
Yes.
would not be exempt, is that
That is what I'm suggesting.
okay? With the consensus of the board, I can easily revise that for final vote at your next meeting, easily.
I have
And-
no opposed.
And then, for the sake of not delaying this gentleman's project, my curiosity is, is this a vote all or not on this particular piece in front of us tonight? Or can we,
I think, we can make a motion with the changes.
It's up to the board.
Well,
oh,
so
and
right now
or-
it's in public comment, then we'll close public comment, we'll go to deliberation. We would need, unless you have the changes here to modify this for the hookup, would we be able to modify this on the fly?
And if
Because
we,
or give him the release to be able to continue what he's
I would
doing.
suggest that we parse the issues.
Yep,
Have the board give me a sense of direction upon any changes it might want. I can then finalize those for a vote on the 18th, and then we can have a motion from the board asking the DPW director to release the building permit. That allows you to go through a process
That would be
while getting him
fantastic.
moving along.
I was actually coming up, and I don't have a horse in the race, but as far as the ADU, if you're going to amend the language, I would suggest adding the word dedicated. Because I'm just thinking of who's going to be reading this in the future and interpreting this. So if an ADU needs a new dedicated sewer connection to the existing main, then whatever the commission decides is their percentage, one that ties into the existing service would be the other. So I would just suggest that word dedicated, being the guy that would be reading this in the future, just for clarity.
thank you.
Thank you.
any other public comment? I only have one other thing, so Carter, it's funny because we always hear vote to close public comment instead of have the chair declare public comment, and I know every town does it different. Here, Raj always says, no, we have to vote to do it. And I'm like, well, not every town does it. How do you normally like this done?
Normally, the chair takes a vote to close the
Close.
public hearing.
Okay,
Now, when I say normally, those are in the
It's not
communities
by
I've worked
law,
in, and there's
but-
many more communities than what I've worked in.
so I will consider a motion to close public comment. Or we
So
can leave
moved.
it open. Do I have a second?
Second.
No further discussion? Raj?
Yes.
Jay?
Yep.
I'm a yes. Vanessa?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, now we're into deliberation. I think what was in front of us is two options. First one would be to, do we have to make a motion to approve you working with the DPW to release the,
Consensus of the board on changes it would like me to make is just fine. I'm hearing definitely one, possibly two. The first one relating to, does it connect to an existing line? Or does it need a new dedicated line of its own? I think if the board reached consensus on that, and then I don't know where Mr. Ashwell is on a measure of abatement. I think with the first issue, we've really resolved that.
Correct. If it's existing, then I think full abatement is perfectly adequate. And then if it's dedicated for the ADUs, I still think at least 1/5 of the going rates. And that way, again, as that abatement rises over time, it stays proportional. That still provides relief to the ADU, the owners putting in the ADU, but still has some funds back to the town, so.
So if you parse those two questions, I'm hearing, a consensus from the board on the first one and then the second one.
is that your motion, Mr. Ashwell?
Yes.
You have that written down. Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Raj?
Yes.
Jay?
Yep.
I'm a yes. Vanessa?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
We have closed that. Do you want the second vote to release for,
I think a second vote to support the release of the building permit based upon the standards anticipated to be adopted on 3/18 would give the DPW director a measure of
Measure.
confidence.
So moved.
second? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Raj?
Aye.
I mean, yes. Vanessa?
Yes.
Yes.
David? Before you leave, can you fit a fire truck in one of those buildings? Don't ask, there's no logical reason. This is not a trick question. If a ladder truck, could a ladder truck pull in one of those buildings and close the door?
If they make the door bigger.
I think the door is big enough.
The big one, yeah, so
The four big ones, or that,
No, the one closest to the baseball field, it's 105 feet, one bay.
yep.
We're not putting the demising wall because one person rented both, so yes. And the doors are 14 by 14, so yes again.
All right.
And there's doors at either end, you could drive right through.
Yeah? We planning something?
Not I just had some
March
questions.
Madness, Santa? Oh, no.
Just questions. I mean, on the agenda, there's something else, but that was just a.
Just a
Kim,
question.
just a question, just random question. All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Just a word of caution, he leaves King his heels,
Make him sign something.
be available tomorrow, so don't set your alarm.
The building department doesn't work Fridays.
Yeah,
We'll take care of you.
on Friday.
We'll take
Look
care
at,
of
he's panicked. I'll come in. I'll just sign it. It'll be fine.
But if the gentleman wants to continue showing up to these meetings and dropping little nuggets of engineering knowledge, the board would be very appreciative.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you want free work.
I'm not a West Boylston resident. I volunteer for like 4 different things already. If I sign up for anything else, my wife will probably leave me. But if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to help wherever I can.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
whatever your other commitments are would understand you being here.
Yeah. And I don't know why in the back of the room you're yelling you'll give out bread. I literally been waiting months, a year, I got once. I'll take his too. All right, thank you, sir. All right, so because we've messed everything up, I'd like to have a motion to accept the COA donation for $126.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item that is quick on here is, there in your packet, you have a letter of support. The West Boylston Fire Department is seeking an earmark for a new ladder truck, and I worked with Jim O'Day's office and Robin Kennedy's office they are also submitting letters of support to help us with Jim McGovern's office of getting an earmark for, it says $1.4 million. They're not killing a grant out because we had no time, which it's today. During all of my spare time, I put the application forward, wrote it, and submitted it with the information I had. But one of the items that Jim McGovern's office asked for is to have some of our representation also submit letters of support, but also have a support from the select board saying that we would like them to give us $1.4 million for a new ladder truck.
Can I specify that the document in front of me specifies 1.8?
Well, so this says 1.4, but I requested $1.8 million, and that's what I asked Mr. O'Day and Robert Kennedy to ask for in hopes that I would get $1 million. I don't know how this works, but the paperwork I saw was for, I know we have someone from the finance committee here, I think to the replacement of the ladder truck that is 35 years old and has been out of commission for 4 months, that is unfixable at this point, was 1.8 million.
The number was 1.8 million, but it's in service at the moment.
It is in service now?
They've been out of service for several months.
Yep.
Dealing with some issues.
Lifts issues and,
But at the moment, it is in service, but I'm told.
I reject that comment from the audience, so there's a letter in front of you to proceed with the approval, to request, Mr. McGovern's office to proceed with putting us forward with that grant. And if you guys reject that, you can fill out the next application online. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Raj?
Yes.
Jay?
Yeah.
I'm a yes. Vanessa?
Yes.
David?
That's a yes for me.
And I'd like to thank Robin Kennedy's office and Mr. O'Day's office for agreeing to put the letters out in an emergency fashion. So we will sign those and send those. All right. Let's see, the next exciting item is we have in front of us, the solid waste enterprise fund fees and rules. We do have a public hearing coming up on the 10th, so if you have any plans, cancel them all and show up to this. Do we want to, Carter, I'll hand it over to you to kind of go over it. And just so the public knows, because I've gotten a lot of comments that we've been holding on to these and not showing them to the public. We have not been holding those. If I had them, I'd show them to you. We have them tonight, though.
So, a little bit of false advertising, I think. When I was interviewed, member Raj said, you know, we got this enterprise program thing, and I'm thinking, you just swing over the accounting, and it's simple. So, a little undersold on the challenge.
I reject that.
I have been working with your team based upon what I understood the program design to be. We've had weekly meetings, Cheryl St. Louis, Leslie Gerton, volunteers, Norma Chanin, representative of the Finance Committee, DPW, Board of Health, and the like. These proposed rules are written around what I was told that design was to be. I understand that there has been considerable pushback on some of those elements, primarily around the pay-as-you-throw bag, continuing on. Some of the other pushback we've attempted to accommodate by the rules propose some provisions for change in circumstance where somebody could opt in or opt out. And we have a number of other things in here. I've got my two wing people and ready for the dogfight here, if you will, to answer any questions for the board. But with the exception of whether or not the pay-as-you-throw is to continue to be an element in the program, and whether or not you are responsive to the requests we've received from many seniors for some sort of discount, I think for the most part, the rest of the rules are not bad. But I need, if it is this board's intent to go to public hearing with a different program design, that's the purpose of tonight, for you to tell me, no, you have to change this, change that, and we'll get this reissued. For people that think, you know, it hasn't been there, if they'll go to the trash and recycling tab, they'll see the FAQs, they'll see these, and we'll get them reissued on Friday as well. If it is the thought of the board to not continue with the pay-as-you-throw, I would ask that, you know, Norma be given an opportunity to address that. It's been a balance for me to, I need to respect the work of all the volunteers. And I do recognize that as programs evolve, a lot of questions come up, and there's, you know, we need to deal with that. There's a lot of elements to this. We're actually in reasonably decent shape in terms of deploying this July 1. I don't want to take a walk down the gory lane tonight, but we had a good conversation with Republic tonight. We've done a lot better work, I think, on evolving all the costs of the program. So as I hear it, the major pushback to this proposal is continued use of the pay-as-you-throw system, and whether or not to redesign the system to have a two-tiered pricing structure. Could I ask Norma to come up and address the pay-as-you-throw element? Would that be?
Please.
Just kind of,
Ray, you gonna come up and provide that?
as they're kind of getting situated a little bit before your time, you know, no one in our town had done an enterprise trash program. So we can fault everything on earth, but we kind of, the town said, we want to keep trash as a service. We said it's a ton of money, way more than we ever anticipated. let us kind of figure out how to do that for you. A lot of people wanted to keep it. So fast forward, that brought us to, hey, we can keep it by making it a trash enterprise account. I never heard of that. I actually found out in Ray's information session on the budget override at the senior center was the first time I had heard about the trash enterprise account, and almost collapsed in the back of the room and said, oh my God, what is this? How are we gonna do this? But I would say from then till now, there has been a lot of work put into it, but I think I would say personally, kind of the request I got was around the pay-as-you-throw, was around smaller bins, a possibility for a discount for our seniors who really have a half a bag and are worried that, you know, some of them are worried about even rolling the container down. And then the other concerns around, we weren't provided this information at town meeting. The reality is we didn't have this information at town meeting. And I, like a lot of people, did make the assumption, so we have the barrel, so that's gonna be our one cost, not taking into account pay-as-you-throw bags. And that being because I don't use town trash and haven't in 2 decades here, so I never even thought of the bags. I've never purchased a bag in town, so I was a little new to that. So I'd say we've come a long way from what is an trash enterprise account and what should we do here. And I'm happy that we have these, at least to look at, but I am concerned that we're going out of order, right? We're having this, we finally have it in front of us. I know it's last minute. Normally it would be public hearing, get the comment, then make the motion on what we're gonna do. Instead, we have this and then we have a follow-up public hearing. So there are a few, like we run on Facebook, right? There were a few people saying, why are you doing it out of order? What are you trying to sneak? Like, what are you trying to hide from us? And I'm like, nothing, right? Like, even if we vote on this tonight, we're still gonna take your comments and at public meeting. And if there's an overwhelming response, that could really change how all of us look at these. If everyone shows up and says, we absolutely hate this, no, it's a public hearing, we're gonna take those. So it doesn't mean what we do tonight is locked in stone. Things can modify.
This is simply, if you leave it as is, this is what goes to public hearing. If you give me a sense of direction of Mr. Administrator, that's not gonna do it for us, we want you to change X and Y, I now have time to make those changes, and that's what goes to 6 months so that in which you were trying to deploy this program was really accelerated. Normally, I think we all would have wanted about a year.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to have maybe not to put you on the spot, because I know you guys could talk about this for a long time. You have to share your microphone because the people will yell at me that were at the senior center this morning. But why don't we start with maybe each board member? So that way we can ask questions, you can answer them, that way you don't have to give us the.
Can I go first?
Can you go first?
Yeah.
I wanted Raj to, no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, I wanted to thank the members of SWAT and Carter for their tremendous amount of time and effort that has gone into developing this program. A lot has been done over the past year, and dedication that went into building the framework. Moving trash into an enterprise model is a significant structural change for the town, and I believe it's the right long-term direction. Getting to this point has taken a lot of collaboration and public discussion, and I appreciate the work that has been brought us here. That said, after looking at the proposed structure, I would like to propose one small adjustment to the program as currently structured. To back up a moment, it's also important to clarify, as a lot of comments have come in through either Facebook or through email, the history behind how we got here. So the override that was approved last May was presented as covering 1 year of deficit spending that included trash. However, in reality, it addressed broader structural budget gap. Trash was used as the example largely because it was the largest discretionary line item that could be removed from the general fund without directly impacting public safety, obligations to systems like MARS in our schools and other essential services. So, while trash was part of that discussion, The override itself was about stabilizing the overall municipal budget. Now we had that out of the way. The green pay-as-you-throw bags served a purpose when trash collection was funded through the general budget. They created a way to offset some of the costs that encouraged, and it also encouraged residents to think about how much waste they're producing. Now we are transitioning to a new system. Under this new system, every household will receive a town-issued cart, and that cart does have a fixed capacity limit. The capacity limit already creates a built-in control mechanism for tonnage and disposal costs. And because of that structural change, I do believe the green bags are not necessary anymore under this system. Some other benefits of eliminating the bags is it reduces administrative and distribution costs. Right now, it costs the town $85,000 just to have the bags. It also removes the inconvenience of residents needing to go purchase them at retail stores. It also just reduces plastic waste. A lot of households are taking their plastic trash bags and putting them inside this green plastic bag. And lastly, it just helps create a more predictable enterprise budgeting, since the town would rely on a flat rate rather than a variable bag sale revenue projection. I understand that currently revenue from the pay-as-you-throw bag helps offset the portion of the cost. So with that being eliminated, we would have to incorporate that into the enterprise fee structure. So what I'm proposing is that homeowners will have the option to use our town's negotiated contract with Republic at roughly, I don't know, let's just say $39 per month. Or they can choose to opt out and get their own private hauler. This would get rid of the trash bags, and people would still be limited to their 165-gallon trash bin. But I do recognize that larger households typically generate more waste than single residents, particularly seniors. And to that, I would suggest offering a 30% discount for seniors, residents over the age of 65 to help offset the difference in typical usage. So when you really look at it, removing the green pay-as-you-throw bags would accomplish a few things. It would reduce plastic waste, simplify administration, improve predictability and enterprise budgeting, remove the need for bag compliance and enforcement, and it would still maintain tonnage control through the cart size limits. This is a relatively small adjustment to the program, but one that I think could make the system simpler and more practical for residents while achieving our financial goals of the enterprise account.
I think that was well stated. Thank you.
I paused because I thought you were moving the paper and you had more, so I stayed quiet.
If I may, Chairman, do you want us to respond to these individually? Do you want to go through them? How do you want to do this?
I would prefer individual.
Yeah, I think that would be whatever David wants, even though he didn't bring any sourdough bread, so individually.
One time.
Well, we just shut his microphone off if he didn't bring bread.
Don't give him, he will do it on purpose now. Ray, I would just ask if you can bring the mic towards you when you're talking. I did get a whole session on this morning at the senior center, so don't try to give yours away, take mine.
Norma Chanis, 42 Prescott Street. Vanessa, I agree with a lot of what you said. However, I think it's important to realize that when the town passed pay-as-you-throw back in 2009, they saw an immediate trash reduction of somewhere between 30% and 40%, depending on what document I read. It did create exactly what the bags are supposed to do, is be a financial incentive to be mindful about what's going in the bags. If that goes away, we lose that incentive. That's one of the points of it. The other piece is if you're concerned about the fairness for people that don't generate much waste, it also provides that piece, that if someone doesn't produce much waste, they put out 1 bag a week. A family that produces far more puts out 4, therefore they pay a higher part of the bill. We can add the revenue that we'd lose to the monthly bill. We could also attempt to project out how much more our tonnage is going to go up and add that to the bill. But now what you're asking is for residents to pay the same flat fee regardless of how much trash they generate. So the household that is mindful about their purchasing, about their recycling, about their waste, will pay the same as someone who has no regard for that. Doesn't really seem fair. A senior that generates far less waste is going to pay the same as that family. So the bag really does what you want to do. It's a misconception that it's an extra fee. It's a part of what makes up the whole thing.
If I may, I have questions on that logic. So whether I'm paying for the town's green bags or whether I'm purchasing one from any of the many trash bag manufacturers in the market, and my family uses 4 a week and someone else's family uses 2 a week, there's still a cost difference there, right? So that happens regardless of whether I'm buying a green bag from the town or
Buying a hefty bag doesn't help the town pay the bill.
no, it doesn't, but correct. But then I believe with the proposed recommendations increasing the overall can fee to have the cart, if you will, offsets that. Now, I do understand, to your point, that it takes what was maybe more of a proportionality formula and makes it a little bit flatter across the board. So that part, I do believe you have a point on. If I don't know if we have this data, but I believe there is a general thought or consensus that the smaller households, often the elderly in this town, generate less trash. And I believe that the considerations suggested here also have a clause that help offset that. So to that end, I guess I would say, if we have someone in the range of 20 to 50 living by themselves, I guess they would be the ones harmed in that case. But outside of that scope, most others have been sort of accounted for in that formula by my understanding. If you see it differently, I'd love to know, but that's, to the best of my knowledge, I think we've covered most of the if you want to call it damage, or the negative effects that changing that policy would have. And then just additionally, I guess, to your point on the 30 to 40% reduction in trash, based on having a 65-gallon can for everyone, whether you were putting out 8 bags previously or 2, that again levels the playing field for total tonnage as a town to whatever you can fit inside that 65-gallon can. So it seems like if we're going to regulate based on volume as opposed to regulating on more expensive bags, then we've sort of already accomplished a similar goal to a different means.
Piggybacking on that just a little, as like a real life example, on Fridays when the trash comes around in my neighborhood, if I'm looking outside, Friday of this week, most of my neighbors have at least 2 bins out there plus a couple green bags hanging on the ground. Now, limiting them to that 1 65-gallon barrel is already eliminating the tonnage, because now they're forced to really think about their recycling, because now they have this 95-gallon bin that is essentially the free bin, and the trash bin can only fit 65. So they have to make sure the lid closes. There can be no overflow bags. The trash company will not take them. So that in and of itself limits the tonnage. I guarantee if you were to do a poll and ask people, if they would use less trash, use more trash now that they don't have to pay the green bags, I just don't think that that's the case. I really think that people generate the amount of trash that they generate, and especially where we are limiting them to 1 trash barrel and 1 recycle barrel, where the recycle barrel is significantly larger, we're going to be encouraging people to already do the right thing and recycle.
Yeah, if I can address that. I think your argument on the volume of the trash receptacle is a false economy. Perhaps for the younger families, they're at or near the capacity of what a bin would be, but I think for the vast majority of people in town, that's not the case. So I think, although the numbers we hear from the state, that we can expect a 40 to 60% increase in tonnage, might be ameliorated partially by limits in the container, but the fact of the matter is, if you're right up against the limit anyways, you'll probably be getting a second bin, and that removes the cap to 130
Well, the
gallons
second
of
bid would
waste.
also generate more revenue as well.
It would, absolutely. But it's a viable solution for those who are pushing the limits.
Yep.
Yeah, the other part of this,
Can you
I
pass
don't know if we can ask Carter, had you had a chance to calculate what the cost of the additional tonnage would be?
So I have a rough idea of what it would be projected now, but I also took into account, even though I don't believe tonnage will increase significantly, I really don't. Even if it does, I have another example showing what that increase would be. And with my proposed $39 per month for a regular household, $26 per month for the senior rate, we are still able to cover the next 5 years at a 30% tonnage increase.
But ultimately, the question is, what is that increase in cost? So
That's
you're
including-
proposing a 30% increase for 75% of the town and a 25% decrease for a third of the town.
No,
Something
I'm
to-
saying I built in the cost of a 30% tonnage increase for the next 4 years after this first year,
And
if that
what
were
was
to
that
be the
figure?
case.
While,
How much was it?
while the chair is, I think, making a copy, I want to kind of share your copy with them so to make sure that we're talking about the same line items.
Sure.
You can direct the line item to make sure that we're looking at the exact same numbers.
Yeah, so the first page is with the normal usage predicted by Republic and Casella. So if you look at this, the numbers do work out well, and this is hoping that the did for the op will stay that number, were to happen. And I'd like to stress that I just don't see that happening. I did a lot of research. We are the only town that is proposing doing both, limiting the carts and pay-as-you-throw. A lot of towns offer the carts and then they offer overflow bags, which in case you would go to the town, you would buy a sticker for overflow bags and put that on your trash, and then the trash person would pick that up. We can't do that here because we are proposing that the trash collectors use the mechanical arm. So instead, I'm now saying that people are going to be limited to their trash bin. If they have more trash over Christmas, whatever, they're gonna have to divvy it up for a couple weeks. But that in itself will reduce the tonnage.
Okay, so in the 2 minutes since I've received this, I've looked at it. The 30% tonnage increase shows no financial change in these spreadsheets that you're showing us.
Yeah, so the right is the revenue, the left is the expense. So if you look at the expense in FY '28, that's where the change is. And just for awareness, you say you print, I just made that.
Okay, so it looks like you're projecting $50,000 a year increase in cost to the town
For going forward.
for the 30% increase in.
Well, increase for year one, and then going forward after that, a 5% increase, or whatever it is, that they had projected for us going forward. So it's not gonna increase 30% every year. It would increase the first year that you switch to getting rid of pay-as-you-throw.
Right, but the differential year by year is nominally 50,000, is what you're projecting. So the notion that you're advancing, I get it. It's just a question of what are our projected values as a town? You know, do we choose to spend an extra $50,000 for the convenience of not having bags? I think ultimately that's a value decision being made. As to discounting seniors or not discounting seniors, I think that really the most cogent article there is it's a little bit more in administration time. Carter can speak to that as far as how much does he think that is. I have no fundamental objection to that personally. I would be a beneficiary, so yay for me. But ultimately, is that what we want to do as a town? Because we'll be losing the differential revenue of the bag fees, the concept of pushing our interests in being a green community and increasing ultimately the cost, something about $180,000 a year to take that approach. And ultimately that's a decision townfolk would really want to weigh in on.
Yeah, in terms of just that figure, that number was rolled into, that's why it's not a 30 per month fee. That's why it's a $39 per month fee, because of that number increasing. But also just the fact of the matter that, you know, I get it. If we could keep things the same as they were before COVID, I would. If we didn't have to do this at all, I'd be happy. I hate having this discussion. But at the same time, we're getting inundated with people, the people that we represent, that voted for us, that want us to represent them, telling us overwhelmingly that this is what they want. So I just feel like I'm speaking for the town when I'm saying that we should move to this method. I think the numbers work out. People are going to be happier with a flat fee, and it also makes sense financially for us.
I have to say, the data proves that it goes up. The trash cost goes up, the volume goes up. Carrying that flimsy bag to the curb, it only holds so much. Putting it in a cart and rolling it out, you're going to fit a lot more in there. It's going to go up. Other towns that dropped it have gone back to it because they couldn't afford to pay their bills.
Did those towns have limits on the amount based on volume? that
One
they could put
town
at
of
the
a
street?
similar size that I can give you as an example is Halifax. They thought the 64-gallon bin was going to be great, and they got a 41% increase in their trash weight and couldn't pay the bills.
Did they have a pay-as-you-throw program
They
prior
did
to-
before, yes. They did away with it thinking carts were the solution. It's not the solution. To step back just a tiny bit, the enterprise fund and the change to carts are two separate things that happen to be occurring at the same time. The enterprise fund is just a different way to pay for this. Carts are here because that's where the industry is moving to. They don't want the drivers getting out of the trucks. Communities that are doing this differently now will eventually be working to drivers not getting out of the trucks. That's just where we're at now because that's the only people that were going to bid for our contract. I just have to really caution that if we do away with the bags, we lose that revenue. We're going to increase our cost of trash. And again, I would like to put it back out to the community. Do we all want to pay the same flat fee? Is going to the store and buying that bag so inconvenient that you want to pay for your neighbor who generates more trash than you do? Or should they be accountable to cover what they use of the system, as they do with their water, as they do with their electricity? Why would trash be treated differently?
Can I? Don't you think we are charging them monthly fees for the tote? I can put as much as I can, fits in the tote. So, doesn't matter, so I cannot go beyond the capacity of the tote. So how this is going to be a different, if I buy a bag outside or if I buy this bag, So we have a lot of people are very angry.
I understand, but I
people are
think
saying,
they're uninformed. And I'm trying to do my best to inform all of us for this decision.
Yes.
Do we know what the average bag usage is per family, per house?
I believe that is in part of a calculation that the SWAT team does each year for the town that looks at bag revenues. I don't have that number with me tonight, unfortunately.
Because my thinking is that the tote itself is, 65 gallons? So 2 of the large trash bags are 65 gallons. We're talking, at most, you're talking about two bags per tote.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Large bags.
Large bags, right. Because if I'm using that much trash, I'm not buying the small ones. I'm buying hefty bags, or in my case, good value bags, and tossing them in the large green bag. So, at most, I can get 2 bags in there.
As a note, we have our own purchased 65-gallon tote. We fit about 4 small bags.
You have upset Mark. You have triggered him from the back of the room because I don't let him talk out of turn. I'm only going to let it go once because you did feed me during that meeting, and I'm immensely grateful. Mark does it all the time, but I thank you for that.
Just one more thing is, nothing is set in stone either. If we do this and, the contract, it's not working the way we said, the great thing is that we could always introduce pay-as-you-throw back. But I do think that we owe it to the people in town to at least give them the option of, if we are now paying the base tax that we just had an override for, the monthly fee for the tax, for the trash pickup, I think that we can eliminate those green bags by incorporating it into that fee and see how it goes for the next 3 to 4 years while we are in the next negotiation phase with Republic. I think that it's worth it. I think that, you know, things are different and times are different, and I just think that this is what people want.
If I can chime in, if I can actually do a quick poll of my select board members, have any of you had residents saying, I hope we keep the bags? Because I personally have had no residents tell me that is the case. And
They all want to get rid of the bag.
and while I very much appreciate your stance on this, I really do. As sitting on the elected side of things, we are also to be respondent to the will of the people within a degree. And so I second, again, what Raj had just noted, that, and what Vanessa had noted, that if we already have a cap on volume, it seems almost punitive to then also labor on an unpopular bag program. That by volume, whether it's a green bag or a gray Glad bag or whatever, I can still put the same amount of trash in that can. It will cost me more, but from a volume standpoint, if my family generates 65 gallons every week, it can fill up that can regardless of the bag. And so the limiting factor has moved from incentivizing you on a more expensive bag to this is the volume that you have to work with. I just don't see, I don't see a world where we should hamstring the citizens with both.
And trust me, I hear you. And I guess I would kind of look to the select board as representatives of the community to help in educating your community on what this means.
I know from my own personal experience, the advent of the single stream recycling did more for my trash usage than the pay-as-you-throw bags. Just the fact it was so much easier just to be able to toss my papers and my cans and everything into one bin. That, instead of, you know, when we first got recycling, you know, the A and B week with paper and then cans and then, you know, that whole thing, that was a mess. And I wound up just throwing stuff away because I couldn't be bothered. With the single stream, it's so much easier. And I know for a fact that my trash usage went plummeted because I was able to just put the recycles out, you know, in one big bin every week. I have, you know, the big blue recycle tote that I just put out every week, right? So I know from my own personal experience that was probably more of an greater incentive than the bags themselves towards reducing, you know, my trash weight. I'm thinking, in terms of Halifax, do we know what size bags they were using for pay-as-you-throw?
I don't have that with me tonight, no, I don't.
I mean, it's an unfair question.
And that was just a town I could find that had statistics similar in our size.
My thinking here, though, is like Shrewsbury's large bags are so much smaller than our bags. And I could see that if...
Have you been dumping in Shrewsbury? Is that what
I've not been dumping in Shrewsbury, but I've had occasion to buy Shrewsbury bags, so...
I just want to make sure.
But the point is, if they were given 65-gallon totes, I could see that trash usage going up because their bags are so much smaller and more expensive. Whereas our bags, I mean, like I said, there's 2 large bags go in that tote, which I think is probably close to what the typical.
I agree in the theory, I'm just telling you that's not what the data proves. 46% of the state has gone to pay-as-you-throw for a reason.
I'm gonna say is that's not what the data suggests, because I think there's enough leeway in each data point that would suggest that, you know, that it's not always the case.
Good. As a thought, we still have to have a public hearing. What you're hearing really, I started sending on them, because I do feel, I personally, I'll say I get heat from a lot of the things I say, but the number one concern from every person that has reached out to me, even at the senior center, was you never told us. You told us trash enterprise, which is a separate, right? None of us knew. We were all kind of shocked when it happened. But you never told us that you were then going to charge us a cost for a container and also keep the bag fee. So that, and the reality is we didn't. That's, at town meeting, we absolutely didn't do that, and
Because they
ignorantly,
weren't related.
we didn't have the information. But I would say, as for town folks, I think their problem is they are truly related. This is a charge for a trash barrel for a trash contract. Before there was a trash contract, that the revenue from the bags didn't pay the full cost of the trash contract and never would come close. You 200,000, we were 626,000 last year in trash. So they weren't a wash, and that was a hard sell last year, right? People are like, well, what are you talking about? We pay for trash for the bags. And my response, the fight we had, Norma, was not us, but that, you mean we have these bags and they don't cover the cost of trash? And I was like, no, they cover, a fraction of the amount, which is a lot more last year because we didn't up the cost of bags for 14 years. And they yelled at us about that. So I think what you're hearing from probably the select board is what we're getting from the residents, which is, you've increased our taxes, we agreed to an override, we have a trash enterprise account that was supposed to solve world hunger, and you now are gonna charge us for bags too. So I understand it's not, you're here, it's us saying it to you. We're regurgitating the ploy of citizens saying, we give, right? We've given all this money, hear us, we cannot pay additional taxes, pay for a bin every month or quarterly, and now pay for bags. So that's the education wise, where I'd say we do need to educate them to say, if you don't do this, that 30 turns into 60. But I would say that's where we have to have hard numbers, where communities like us are using barrels and bags and seeing a dramatic decrease in tonnage, or the communities that are just using barrels and not pay as you throw bags, it sounds terrible, but just like we have to prove to the citizens who are, in a lot of cases, living paycheck to paycheck at this point, and are thinking, we're kind of inventing this. What someone said to me this morning was, are you guys just inventing this as you go? And I'm like, my response was, I mean, yes, at this case, because we didn't know what we didn't know. None of us could predict the outcome. So that's, I think, where you're getting from the board is, if we can't educate them to show them this is gonna be a neutral, like, it's gonna cause you not to go up that $30 or $39, I'm not putting what you said out, but if we can't prove that, I honestly can say if we polled, I think I've had 42 people reach out to me directly about this. I don't have anyone saying keep the bag fee, and that's where I'm struggling, right? Because now we're kind of jamming it down their throats, and
I hear you.
it's hard. It's like carts. I remember when I started on this board, and I was like, Norma, Julianne, we have to go to carts. And you guys were like, if we do carts, it'll be more tonnage. We can't do it. And I was like, they're forcing, the company is moving that way, and now we're here, but I do think we have to consider some of this, because they're gonna, I worry they opt out, and now 40% of the town opts out of trash, where then I would come back and say, you wanted us to keep trash? If a large majority of people opt out of this program and say they do not want trash, I absolutely do not think the trash program goes forward. It's just, it will not make sense to us if the community that said they wanted it and did the override now says more than 40% of us have decided we don't want to use town trash, and that's going to drive up everybody else's cost. Because that's a real, I really do think you're gonna have that problem. I mean, we saw dumpsters, there's multiple houses that have dumpsters already installed in their driveway. And they're like, oh yeah, we're doing it with 3 other people, and I'm like, that isn't what we were trying to do, but I'm concerned people are gonna say nothing to the paper that was sent out, or we're gonna see a large amount of them opt out, and that $30, the math we're doing, only works at a percentage. So if that percentage goes up, everybody else pays.
And I do think that in an ideal world, we would have had continuity with, one town administrator.
Yep.
Basically bringing the program from infancy to the finish. We didn't have that luxury, so we don't, we're up against time and different people working in different places, and it all is bad timing. I mean, it's terrible to say it, but we're doing the best that we can with what we have today in March of 2026. And so I just think that this is the best way forward, unfortunately.
I'll just say one more thing.
You go for it.
Have I made it clear to the 5 of you that you're asking, if we do away with the bags, residents will all pay the same fee? Regardless of their usage of the system, residents will pay more than the $30. The math has to be figured out.
Well, I don't know, I would say right now, I do think that's a consideration we have to look at.
But you understand the bags and the fee that used to come from your taxes made up paying for the trash program. Enterprise fund is now going to be a bill that takes it out of the tax. That was the enterprise fund piece. So if there are no bags, then we go back and we do the math. And what people have been asking for, I've gotten the same questions. I can't leave the house without getting asked the questions. If the board decides to go ahead with a flat fee, I just want to make sure you all understand that that means you're paying the same as someone who puts out far more trash than you. And put that out to the town and say, how do they feel about that? As long as they understand that the bags aren't extra, it made up a part of the original cost.
Right, and I completely understand. I do think there will be a percentage of people that are going to be upset about that, but I do think the majority of people are going to benefit and really want this flat fee, and especially where we're offering a 30% discount for the seniors, they end up paying less than the $30 a month in this program. So
The rest of the town makes that up.
Correct.
I think there are a lot of things in town that work that way. I live on a private street. I got, if I want that street paved, I gotta pay for it. So, but my tax bill is the same. So I think there's a lot of calculations that go into what we as a community are willing to pay for the betterment of the community itself.
And I think we'll use some of that data that you guys have to educate, because I do see on the schedule, we probably need to do some education sessions. I'm always talking to someone and saying, well, no, it actually kind of works this way, folks, but we need to get some more stuff out to them, and it really is just, we have this window of time we're all running towards town meeting at. But I would say, let's get some information out. I do think we have to look at it, whether we go with it or not. And maybe the response is, we're gonna have to look at the same thing, because I'm gonna ask Carter, how many people opted out, right? And if he says, we have a problem, 1,000 people opted out, I'm gonna say, what is that? I don't know, Ray and Carter, what does that now look like? Because $30 is I would say to people, we're banking $30 if that many people are in the program at that point of time. That changes the moment one of those variables change. Because you have people opt out, someone's got to pay the bill, unless that's being made up somewhere else and we have magic money, which I'm going to be mad if I've been asking for money and it's a pot of money somewhere and no one gave it to me. We have to come up with some type of variable, but I think the education sessions will help. I think some of the data on what other towns are doing will help, but the reality is we don't always make the right decisions. I mean, we've done policies, Carter, here where we looked at a policy from 15 years ago where or more than that, 20 years ago, where it said the only way you can do a public hearing is if you put it on a poster, the cork board in the Mixter Town Hall. That was a policy. It said that was the way you had to notify people of a public hearing. It laid it out, and we're like, well, that building actually is gone now. I guess I could ask him to hang it in the senior center. Does it count if it's in the same spot? I think if the public is overwhelming, I have the information, and I still don't want this to happen, we then are jamming it down their throat and making them pay extra, versus we could come back in 6 months and say, now we have a problem, right? Now we're gonna have to go back to, we're re-implementing at the next town meeting, pay as you throw, because you guys aren't behaving. I mean, I say behaving because I have kids, but they're all adults now, I guess. So I'm thinking, in the back of our mind, it's gonna be something that they're gonna be loud and forceful, so we at least should have the numbers ready for different scenarios.
Yeah, so if I can respond to some of the points that have been raised. So I get it. You're all getting calls from people that are being very vocal. We hate bags. Fine. I mean, it is what it is, and you're the elected body here to implement the collective will of the people, and you got to follow that charter. So I'm hoping that some people are listening, and that if there is a less vocal group of people that really want to retain the bags, they show up to the public hearing and make sure you hear that.
And I'm willing.
We'll see.
Oh, I mean, open it up. I know we opened up for public hearing emails. I mean, we've done surveys in the past. Remember, we had some luck with that. I mean, honestly, I don't know if Kim wants to put a paper handout at the senior center and have it fill out, and I'll take them and put them in something like we did before, right? So the seniors have it. So that way we get a larger group of people, but I feel bad saying this because I'm not one that goes with, I don't follow a crowd, right? Like, I tell you how it is and you like it or don't, but on this one, I haven't had one person. I mean, that to me is normally that doesn't actually happen. There's always two loud groups and then the irrational group. This one has been, how could you do this to us? And I'm like, we didn't, right? Like, it's just happened.
Typically, I'm all about user fees. Like, I would love to take trash out of the budget and just pay as you go, right? I kind of feel like a complicated message to say you have to participate in the enterprise plan and buy the bags, and this is where your money's going. That's a really complicated message, and I kind of feel like the user fee is the enterprise payment, and kind of reduce the friction there to say, okay, this is your user fee. If you're going to participate, this is what you're paying.
Yeah, so if I can just continue with the thought I was trying to get to. Ultimately, your responsibility is to present the case in as fair and unbiased a way as you know how. Toward that end, I would strongly recommend not using 30%, and we have documented information saying the real number of increase in trash is 40 to 60%. So if we're going to be unbiased, I would recommend you put in 50%, and whatever numbers it is, it is. The other piece, Christina, you mentioned a concern that you think the opt-out rate is going to be much higher than we're projecting. And
it's just a change, right? When we originally done this, we were told that it would be 10%. Then someone said 20%. Then I saw a number that was 40%. Carter, I'm not blaming you. You're inheriting this after the effect, right?
Everything's the town's fault.
But that's why I say, and I was like, whoa. But part of the thinking was, that is the reason the contract is written the way it is that it provides a clause in it if we have to get out of the contract because we honestly cannot afford to do it. Because the reality was, my concern, and having a member in the town actually review it, was if something went completely awry and this became 90, 100, 200 a quarter, my vote was no, right? I wasn't going to do that to the taxpayers of town. If it became such a burden where it was cheaper for them to do private hauling, I can't say, well, we signed a 5-year contract, I never thought we'd ever get out of it, right? So there is a clause in that contract for this reason, because I saw 3 different sheets with 3 different variables, and when no one actually knows, right? So now I go, that's not, part of it was like, we can't allow anyone to opt out, because if we do, everyone else is gonna pay, every month the bill will change for them, right? So like, just think of like, those are like, that is what we're debunking. What I would say here is we do have a public hearing. I hear what all of you are saying, and you guys have all the emails. I think you have all the emails that we got, at least in the last 2 days or 3 days, that I did forward and notice. What I would recommend, I would say, Carter, with your assistance, is, are there portions of this that we should vote on tonight, so that they could be amended after the hearing, but it gives the Board of Health what they need, it gives you what you need. I just don't want to keep putting this out, right, when some of the smaller ones that we know we have to have trash bins in town, like approved haulers or procedures like that, that we can move forward with, that the town's probably not going to care about.
So let me suggest that your first dilemma was laid out very well by the 5 of you, which are the people who don't want the bags. And on the converse side of that, setting aside the tonnage uptick for a moment, I think Ray said the bags and attempting to reduce trash are what we value as a town. That is your first challenge. The desire of the residents as they've spoken to you, or the thought that we're driven by trying to reduce volumes. Once you decide that, there are some other decision points that you need to walk through. But I think that's a baseline before you get to anything else. And if you want to change these regulations, proposed regulations, such that they do away as the pay-as-you-throw, and that's what's gonna go to public hearing, that I do need to know so I can rewrite them. If you're saying, we think all the tomatoes in town have been sold, so we're not gonna get bombed, but we are taking these regulations to public hearing, and then you get all of that feedback, that's another way to go. So I would put that forth as decision number 1.
I'm ready to make a motion.
I can't stop you. I know we all look at me like I control things, but it is really you guys that.
Don't you think it's premature to take any action today without public input? Say suppose, if we didn't get, if on the public hearing day, people said it's fine.
So I've drafted a set of regulations for your review. If these really are not in keeping with what your thoughts are, I don't think it's fair to the public to put forth something that you know you're gonna change. What I'm hearing is, we don't even wanna take that to public hearing. We want the bags gone.
But also, Raj, like, we're up against time too, because we already sent out the opt-out letters. There's already people that need to know what this is gonna be. So I do think that we as a board need to make this decision and go into the public hearing with whatever we decide.
So again, even if we take out the bags now, we could always bring it back.
Put it back in based on the feedback from the community.
Yeah. Not only that, down the road, maybe in a year.
I would
2 years.
suggest that you try to design a program that you are comfortable is going to survive a minimum of 3 years. Because if you do a whoops, we're sorry, in the first 3 years, you will lose voter confidence for any future proposals that you make.
Yeah. And so that being said, I will say I did run the numbers. I put in contingencies. I thought long and hard. I worked on this all weekend, and I'm trying to do what the majority of people want. And so I would like to make a motion to eliminate the pay-as-you-throw bags, implementing a model that has a flat fee and a 30% discount for seniors, and to also create some additional boundaries for the regulations that qualify that.
But respectfully, I would suggest you take them one at a time, because there's some other decision points in there.
Okay, so I motion to eliminate the pay-as-you-throw bags.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Raj?
Yes.
Jay?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Okay, I will go back to the budget. I know Vanessa's done a lot of work. At 30%, I want to model the 40% as well. You have the example of what your reduction was, what some other communities have popped up. So we'll have that model, we'll have the laptop with us Tuesday night. The second question becomes, do you want to offer a two-tier fee structure for the collection? And if you do, for seniors, then I have some other questions for you. But I'm trying to piece this into the simplest terms to walk through it.
One of my things, I like it just because it is one of the things we're hearing about, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. Is there extra money to build it in the billing system? Because I did get a chance, a prior town administrator said us something about the billing system, but I know it's not the one we're using now, so I don't know. Does it cost us more money to have two different rates and two different billing cycles?
Yep.
Okay, so if we do that, then that would have to get factored into this.
But it's my job to figure out how to alert you to the pluses and minuses, and how to work through what your policy decisions are. I mean, decision number one really is, do you want a two-tier structure? I will tell you that depending upon who the seniors are, that's a next question. Yes, it could add considerable amount of administrative work.
I make a motion to move to a two-tier structure with seniors getting a discount.
And would those be 65 over?
65 and older, 30% discount.
Who would do that? It's not gonna get sent to our board to like review people's
If,
qualifications for
with-
65 and
with due
approve it.
respect, you're the policy board, we're the staff. I'm not gonna ask you to do staff work.
Carter, I know you're telling me this, but I've been in this seat for a little while and people tell me this and then all of a sudden I wind up filling out Excel spreadsheets with this guy sitting
Well,
across from here on bridge days.
Under the current team approach,
Where it's,
if you'll
okay,
do your job, we'll
All right.
do ours.
Sorry.
Would you not just use the census data that the town already has to largely be
We have a variety of assumptions that we can walk you through.
wonderful?
Because these data is only as good as the assumptions we're using.
Okay.
And when we walk you through the budget, if you're not comfortable with the assumptions we've used, we'll have to change them, we'll have to tweak the numbers.
okay. Do I have a second for Vanessa's motion?
Second.
Then discussion, go ahead.
Yeah, what would like a hardship waiver look? So, kind of like property taxes, right, had an option where
A
somebody.
third tier?
Not a third tier, but what I'm saying is one tier with an option to.
How many cases
That makes
you
it
want?
really complicated, and
How
I
many
did a lot of
cases
research.
you want to hear it, you know?
I can
I don't
actually,
know, this is what I'm asking, I don't know.
I'm gonna let them all talk and just let Mark sit up here in a
But
minute.
just real quick, I did a lot of research on this, and most towns have a two-tier system where the seniors do get a discount because just generally they do produce less trash in general. So they don't usually go by income.
there are models all over the place, and there are towns that do not have. There are towns that have 65 plus. There are towns who say, okay, did we do the discount because it was a reward for longevity or an issue of income? So there are towns that restrict it to those seniors, and in some cases veterans, who qualify for the tax exemptions for property tax. In this case, that would be 70 people.
So,
There are towns that have another formula. In our case, we think the census data that we talked about at the team meeting the other day is around 25% of your target customer base would be 65 plus.
If I might also just make a note, I understand the drive to make sure everybody's taken care of, but there's only so many days between now and town meeting, and I think implementing a simpler structure now and tweaking it later, as long as you're covering the vast majority of the primary issues, might be the preferred way to go.
I do not want, you don't have till town meeting.
All right.
You
Well,
have 2
Yes.
weeks.
so further discussion items on that one motion. You guys have gone on, all right, Raj,
Yes.
Jay,
No.
Yes.
David.
Oh, fun. Yes.
Okay,
So with respect to the senior discount for over 65, in rewriting these regulations, I would be proposing that they must be a property owner of a
Yep.
single family or condo,
Yes.
and that if the property is held in trust, they must produce the trust documents that show they in fact control the property.
I love that due to the dwelling situation, the second dwelling, because everyone that just built one of those recently or now
No.
allowed to would switch to the person living in the dwelling, so,
That'd be my proposal on that. With respect to the final budget, Vanessa's done a lot of work. We've done a lot of work today with the team. We'll run through and have everything ready for Tuesday night.
do you want us to adopt what is here, though? Because a lot of these items that you have in here aren't around pay-as-you-throw and are not around,
I would suggest that I rewrite
Okay.
to eliminate the bag, to add the senior exemption, to recalculate the second barrel if the idea is that you're controlling costs by the price that's in here for the second barrel will not cover full disposal over the course of the year. And we'll get that issued to take to public hearing. And I will have the spreadsheet with various assumptions, and we'll need to talk about, when we get to the meeting schedule, when you will have time to listen to my budget presentation on this item. So if I say the uptick is 40%, and Norma has that, and somebody else says it's 30, and somebody else says it's 20,
I-
somebody has to be the arbiter. If I say it's a 10% dropout rate, somebody has to be arbiter of these things.
and we have, you're getting those, I think they're due by,
I believe March 24.
yeah, so I mean, 20 days from now, we'll know the exact opt-out rate, right?
Conceivably.
Mark, just come up and talk, because I see you, you know, you have to come to a mic, because I got yelled at this morning. So come over here, sit near Ray.
If I might, before him.
Yep,
So the reality is, for homeowners, if you turn the water on, you expect water to come out of the faucet. You expect things to go down the drain. Largely, people expect trash to just be a simple utility. The way the program has been structured, it is basically seamless. You know, regardless of the decisions that you're making here now, people basically don't have to do anything, and things will keep on moving. There's nothing they have to do. There'll be a monthly bill, and that's it. And I think it's important, you know, for those who are listening and the messaging that gets out to the community. This is a seamless program. That's primarily why I don't think the opt-out rates are going to be very high, because it's simply, all they have to do is nothing, and the trash keeps getting collected.
I do
So
think
I think
that's
that's
important to, when we do these education sessions, to let people know, hey, we try to make it as easy as possible for you.
And I think the way it is structured, the work that's been done makes that happen. You know, the Board of Health has been a great ally in adopting regulations that facilitate the simplicity. So I think people will be happy with it as structured. Time will tell.
I might even use town trash, you never know, this could,
Just so you know, you will have to go to the Board of Health and request a waiver of their regulations, because their regulations call for a continuation of the pay-as-you-throw program.
We will,
Yes.
Vanessa will.
Like me, or like,
I will draft a letter to the Board of Health
I voted Vanessa, that
based
was a quick.
upon the preliminary vote tonight, giving them a heads up that, we may be seeking a waiver. Yes, but I need you to be aware of that.
We should note that we're still requiring a bag, just not the pay-as-you-throw bag. Is that's the?
But the regulations, Board of Health regulations require a continuation of the pay-as-you-throw program.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're free till, I'll see you in 6 days. Or Carter will see you in 6 days. Thank you guys so much. Let's see. All right, next item to take action on. Carter, the next item I have is the meeting calendar for March through May, and this is the proposed meeting dates and countdown for all the different things.
Which we may now need to, or want to amend modestly.
Okay, go for you, what would you,
I'd like to suggest perhaps, I know you are fond of taking the agenda out of order,
I never do it.
so might I suggest that you get the report from the Town Administrator Search Committee before we take up the calendar?
If that makes you happy, Carter, that's what I'm here for.
I think it's gonna make a discussion of the calendar easier.
Go ahead.
all right, so we, again, had 4 interviews back in January. We are bringing 2 people forward for a final. Tomorrow night, we have 3 additional interviews for first rounds. And, we could have anywhere from 2 to 5 people that we're bringing forward for a final interview. So that being said, 5 interviews in one night after a regular meeting might be a little tough. So we might need to break this up into 2 different nights, which is another meeting.
Well, tonight was supposed to go an hour and 30 minutes, but it's over that, so I think that's probably the case, to give them all fair time. What are you thinking? What are we thinking for dates? Because
I was gonna suggest March 25th, because it's another Wednesday, it's a week later. Again, 6 o'clock, or 5 o'clock if we want to start it earlier. I actually think 5 o'clock would be better.
Hold on, say it again, March.
25th. And what will probably happen is, let's just assume we have 3 to 4 finalists. We could probably fit in 1 interview on the 18th, and then the remaining ones on March 25th. If that way people have plenty of time to prepare, and they don't get exhausted, and we're not having interviews at 10 o'clock at night. Thoughts?
Is the 18th meeting agenda, is that gonna be big? Do you think?
It's gonna have some rules for the, that solid waste program on it.
I'm not gonna accept any comment, I'm just gonna forward motions on that. All right, I'm
I-
just
I-
wondering if we could do 2 then, and,
I don't know how big it's gonna be.
well, what's great about that is, as chair, the only actual joy the only thing I have that is important is approving the meeting agenda so that it could be sent out. So, can we do 2 interviews that night? And then I will just vote down any large amounts of things I ask for you to add to the agenda. You'll say no to remind me there's 2 interviews? You're just looking at
I'm
me.
happy to have a talk about not amending the agenda.
Yeah.
Do we want to wait to see how many finalists we have? We can, right now, set the dates
That's
as
fine.
the 25th, and then decide how many we're going to have on the agenda at that point.
So that is good, because then I will have a meeting tonight, the 18th, the 10th, the 18th, and the 25th. So we will be together a lot. That's good. Okay, so
Let's see what I can do about bread.
that is a mandate, and she said a yes during a recorded video. All right, so the 25th, Carter,
We're
I
at
know
it.
you have nothing to do.
So
That's
my
good.
suggestion, if I can, just to give you a heads up, depending upon how many you have, if you have 4, maybe you do 1 on the first night and 3. My suggestion, if you're open to it, is that if you can do it, you perhaps have your interview starting at 5 and you move your business meeting. And the reason I'm suggesting that is so that you can still broadcast your business meeting live to the public, but not broadcast your interviews live to the other candidates.
So the 18th, have it at 5?
Um,
We'll do the 18th and
Possibly.
the 25th, the interviews will be first, and then it'll be our regular,
Right, and
Agenda.
you can let people know you're gonna have the, you can even release the prior recording.
Yep.
But I don't think you want the candidates for the second night of interviews to be able to watch the first night of
Right.
interviews.
gives them an unfair advantage. Okay,
Makes sense.
So, with that, if I can just walk through this, we did not have, I'm kind of jumping ahead on the agenda myself here. Your town meeting warrant was closed to citizen petitions here today. You had 0 citizen petitions submitted to the town clerk's office. We're having the education session at the Council on Aging tomorrow night on March 10. We have your public hearing at 6, and I have a request for a special board meeting at 5, basically for discussion. I'll be able to walk you through budget, some other things. We may have 1 or 2 business items if they're not much, and I have the approval of the chair.
If I can, just get one clarification for the education session tomorrow night. Is your plan to update some of the language around that based on the changes that we?
My plan is to have these revised, and thanks to the work Vanessa's done over the last couple of days, I have a slideshow almost ready to go. It may be done old school in paper, but I think with the addition of one, what do we talk about? Maybe one
One slide.
slide to address the senior issue?
I'll do it tonight and send it to you.
Okay, just want to make sure that, I saw the pay as you throw on there, and what we are
Yeah,
largely recommending is.
that'll be with
yeah,
the changes you've made
Okay.
tonight.
Thank you.
So we've got the March 10th, then we have March 18, we have March 25, which would be a second night of interviews. The next one, the next 2 are really informational. Report under the budget here shortly, but we've started the warrant, and we are very, very close to the final budget. Again, I'll brief you that when I get to that item. We are suggesting on April 22nd, whether you do it in this room, perhaps you do it in the land use, so you've got the larger conference table, that the Select Board and the Finance Committee walk through all the budget and make your recommendation votes, so I can prepare the warrant voter information guide.
Just a quick note on that. That is April vacation. Don't know if anybody else has a conflict. I will not be in the country.
Do they have Zoom?
I'm on a cruise. So no.
I think Elon
Unless
Musk
your
was
partner
that.
buys the internet package.
Oh.
I think we can do it, are you back the following week?
to the April 1st is April 1st a holiday?
Just one- that's a week later.
I can adjust for that if you're open to, let's say, a Monday or a Tuesday night meeting.
So,
I don't know what that date would be, I don't have a calendar.
It's fine.
so, April 22nd. So you're saying maybe like the 27th, April 27th?
I can
Monday?
make that work.
27th is Monday, yep.
Does that work for everyone else?
Yeah, I'll come down on Monday instead. I'm learning to be here
thought you
more than
lived
3
here.
days. Yeah.
That is typically the townwide planning
It
day.
is what it is. How about Tuesday night
I
then?
mean, Tuesday would be better, just so we don't have to move the townwide planning meeting, because that's like 12 people that always make it that last Monday of the month.
But that's my nephew's birthday. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. So the 28th,
28th?
the
Okay.
28th, so that way you don't have to come down on a Monday?
Yep.
So April 28th for the joint meeting? Okay.
So I'm not in error here, I'll move April 27. I'm not quite sure why May 4 was repeated as closing the citizen petitions, I'll take that off. And then I've worked with the town clerk, get the warrant to the constables, post the warrant, and we have the semi-annual town meeting.
Real quick on this, when I was looking at this, so tomorrow's meeting is an education session. Some of the people need to select them to have a posted agenda for this, so if we go, we will be not talking about the same
It would just be citizens and
So I just
non-residents.
wanted to make sure, first, I was actually not gonna plan to go, because I know that others would go, and I was worried about 3 of us, and,
Truthfully, I got into a very small room, it only holds about 35 people. I think that the select board over the last week certainly has had a substantial amount of input.
so if some of us plan not to attend,
Raj
that's
and I
okay.
have town administrator interviews for 3 hours tomorrow night, so we cannot be there.
And transportation meets tomorrow night as well at 6.
So that saves me a lot of seats, and I don't have to post a
So
quorum.
we will not possibly have a quorum in that case.
You know what, that just makes my life easier. I just was gonna say I'm not going, but,
So as revised, does this,
okay. This looks good, I like it, wonderful. Do you need us to, you don't need us to vote on this?
I'm fine.
Okay. Well, now you're kind of all over the place. Do you wanna do the town and, FY '25 revenue and budget overview?
Yes, we've applied to the blood bank this morning for a transfusion because I still need to cut approximately $160,000 from the budget in order to bring it into balance. That does not include any costs of meeting the collective bargaining agreement with the Department of Public Works, should you come to an agreement. Further, it does not include approximately $50,000 that I've put in a free cash appropriation article for you to undertake your MS4 requirements. You have been paying for those with grants over the last few years, and those are gone. So we warned you that there's new landfill monitoring costs. Those are in the budget. But given the size of the gap I have yet to close, I did move the MS4 into the free cash article. I've given you a breakdown of, the revenues that we're anticipating. The state aid was $18,000. And I've given you the cherry sheets so you can see what the pluses were and what the charges, the back charges were. We've shared the projected addition to the school department budget. That's gone, the school superintendent's had that for several weeks now. I think it's very transparent as to how it was done. Here's our new revenues, you're 43% of the budget. We'll give you 43% of those revenues. Around the edges, one department did get a considerable cut of $75,000 that was delivered to that department head today to ask them how they would address that. The only potential relief in the current operating budget is the IAC did meet yesterday. They reviewed some tweaking they might be able to do to the health insurance budget, and it might bring it from 13% down to 10%. If that's the case, I will present to you potential restorations. Where would I suggest you restore those monies first? But as of tonight, I'm sitting still in need of finding approximately $200,000 in cuts. Happy to answer any questions.
If after repeated rounds of looking for budgetary solutions, you are unable to come up with that, would it be your preference to ask for an override for that amount to maintain service levels?
It would not.
Okay.
Be my preference, and let me please explain why,
Please.
if I might. I know the board would like to increase the police department by at least one person. And we know that some of the cuts in the school department, they're gonna hit programs that I personally find very rewarding. I think I joked with one of you that, Mr. Meany was a great economics teacher, but I learned a lot more from Mr. Pierce, the coach of my debating team. And so, to the extent those cuts hit any of those extracurricular enrichment, those actually, in some ways, have longer life value. So I did meet with the superintendent, I met with the police chief. We did talk about an override of one thin dime. However, given the implementation of the solid waste program and all the issues surrounding that, given that your sewer fund does not have sufficient revenues and retained earnings to operate for FY '27 without a substantial rate increase that you will have to face in the fall, and given the likelihood that your school department very well may be asking for a considerable investment in the coming year, it just simply didn't seem. I like to go for overrides when I can win, and I just don't see the likelihood of winning, even one thin dime.
Can I ask a
It's coming
question on
soon.
this? You know, you bring up the sewer and the cost there, and I haven't, you know, it's funny, we're the Select Board and Sewer Commission, but we honestly never see anything on the Sewer Commission or, you know, financials, or what we get is the abatement end of it, right? Like, I don't wanna pay the bill because I was away and a pipe broke. But in 4 years, I've never seen.
Well, I won't be here, but
And neither will I.
it is my practice in my other communities to bring my teams before the select board on a quarterly basis. So the finance team comes in and presents budget versus actual, trends, and the public safety team comes in. We do need to hire a new accountant.
For this
But-
though, is it, it's the rates, have we just not kept up with rates and they have just been sitting there for years?
I am told today that you have close to $2 million in deferred maintenance. You have not addressed the rates in over 5 years, and you have been taking your retained earnings to fill the gaps. Now, I know there's some hope that there will be some rate relief from the Worcester side of the house. But that's not going to be resolved for a while. And we are meeting on Monday with Ty and Bond to review their rate study. And I don't know true numbers at this point. I can tell you that you cannot get through FY '27 without some form of rate increase, which I'm currently projecting to be effective for all bills issued after October 1. I'd really like to get through the dust-up of the trash program in the town meeting and get some real education going on this.
But this would be a public hearing based on the rates that we set as a select board. And it's not you. My frustration is, we have brought up so many things on policies and pushed in 4 years that I've been on this board, asking questions like, if we have someone out, how much is the insurance company paying? And to find out, we have just so much stuff that has gone so many years, and it doesn't make it to our desk, so we're not sitting in an office saying, let me inspect. This to me is 5 years, and we've been at a deficit this whole time, and I've gone to my taxpayers to say, hey, I wanna do an override, when I could have done a policy, and for the past 4 years, done a rate increase every single year, a small amount, instead of now I'm gonna slam these people with a rate increase, cause it looks like I've been sitting here on my thumbs, not doing anything.
So let me just say that's not uncommon. Towns just keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. You're not the only one that's done that. I can't address the board's relationship to their town administrator in terms of what you're asking them to do and what they do for you.
Well, I just don't know how we would get, and it's almost, I've learned a lot, so, you know, in the years I've been on this board, but I would say to you two folks being new, you'd never know to ask, right? Like, it was trial and error by people in the community coming forward, someone saying, hey, I saw on, I'm gonna use your paper, on that line item, did you see what that's for? And I'm like, hold on, you know, and, but this to me is just one of those things, it was like bag fees. Why didn't we update them every year for 14 years?
What's like the best time of year to, if we were to review this yearly, if we put it on a calendar and?
So, your financial management policies, let's first talk about the reports. You have board operating policies. Part of that board operating policy could be that you expect quarterly reports to be physically presented to you. Now, the challenge is, you don't want the person sitting there, you know, reading it and droning on. It's a time, it can become a time crunch, and I can show you some communities where it's in, out, done, and I can win the lottery on how long the meeting's gonna last. Now, with respect to fee setting, that can be in your financial management policies. You should be, in my opinion, segregating your groups of fees, let's say into 3-year cycles, doing very long, doing in-depth reviews. Your quarterly reports will show you if you got a more immediate problem. I think 3 years is a good review point.
I'm having an aha moment, and I had to look at Jay, because we have a ton of policies that this board is trying to, been updating, and all of us have been working on and putting up to get them up to date. And one of them was the financial policies that we looked at, and they were so tedious. It says on this date by this person, you have to send this to this. And I'm gonna regurgitate what Jay said, which was, this looks like management stuff. Like, isn't this part of their job? And now, what you just said to me, and this was really good, but I'm gonna look at you and Jay, say, this is exactly why policies were made, because you didn't get it, and now we're sitting in a boat where we're not, by the next town meeting, I'm gonna jack another rate up on the taxpayers. That
Well, this is
could have
also-
been prevented. And so now I gotta make a select board policy.
And if I
to
may
assign
too,
a job.
this is the second item since I've been on this select board less than a year, where there was some other, I think it was something about vehicle weights or something that that we had, that you recall that we had not touched in maybe 10 years?
10 years.
Maybe longer. So we have my point to bring this is that we have a reoccurring problem of, at some point in time, a policy said our rate on item A is X, right? And it has not gotten the dust blown off of it in a very long time. And then, because turns out things should move with inflation, or at least the 2.5 that we're allowed to move with. If we don't, the hole just gets deeper.
It's a challenge. You don't have a deep bench in terms of the amount of staff that you have.
So could I ask, like, is there then, okay, fiscal year rolls over July 1, by August 1 of every year, essentially, should we have a list of here are all the things that you are responsible for setting rates for and the last time they were adjusted? And then that becomes an early in the budget cycle period, right after the fiscal year rolls over. Here, by the way, reminder, here are all the things that we need to consider. And if, we just changed it last year, we're probably gonna pass over that one. But if this one's coming up in 5 years, it needs to make it onto the town admin and town administrators' yearly objectives to guide the select board to assess that.
So right now, when Leslie leaves, you do not have a formal policy in writing as to how you estimate your revenues for each budget year.
I find this so hard to believe, that we have 2 full-time people on the downstairs and we had a consulting firm. Like, to me, this is just, this is so bad
With
to
all due
even
respect,
hear.
I do not think this board fully understands the workload that these people carry.
I don't. I can honestly say to you, that's one of the things I really don't, besides when we read these policies and I said, God, I feel like we're micromanaging. Like, this is a policy saying on this date you have to do this exercise from 10 years ago, right? So, but I will say, with that said, I appreciate that, but I also appreciate the fact as the chair of the select board, I have in my calendar a ticker for every contract we have here with DPW fire, because the reality is if I don't tell someone here ahead of time, meetings don't get scheduled, a rewrite doesn't happen. And a perfect example was what's happening with DPW, right? Like, usually I did send something off in advance somewhere else to say, hey, this is coming up, right? But a good example is I won't be in this seat forever. Might be shorter than expected. Jay's not gonna be here. Raj might not be here. And now I do feel bad because you have David and Vanessa and 3 brand new board members. And that could happen in 2 years. They're gonna have no clue to even know where to look.
It is a challenge when you have churn. It's an absolute challenge.
So if I may, then along the similar lines, I don't think this constitutes any form of a meeting law issue, because calendar entries are not things for debate. But in your assessment as town administrator today, do we have a solid digital calendar where the various department heads have some of these items marked off on long-term calendars for reoccurring things like this, that, you know, whether you have churn or not, when someone comes into that position, they are now seeing, you know, 3 months, 6 months, here's what's on the calendar, here's what my, my goals and objectives in this time manner needs to be adjusted
So
for.
first, I know 3 of your prior, well, I know a number of your prior town administrators, and I don't want this to be any reflection upon Leon, Anita, or Nancy. Please do not take it that way at all. But no, I don't think you do. And so I'm hoping it works. But we've instructed Maria that as you tackle each task, here, I need you to advertise this. I need you to advertise it in the item. I need you to advertise it in the telegram. And after you do that, I want, sort of a advertising for dummies, if you will. Where do we advertise? What are the drop dead deadlines? What's the email? How do we tell them, we need this back, bill it to this account, we want the tear sheets, well, that's an old term at this point, and then build those procedures manuals. That has to happen as people are coming in new, because for people who are just trying to keep their heads above day to day, it's like, yeah, right, Carter, that's nice.
So
push it
if
off.
we use Leslie as an example, and I'll use, with her transition leaving, I mean, we might not have a playbook, but even rough draft of this is how I normally do it, written out on a piece of paper. It doesn't need to be step 1 is I do this, but as part of the transition, is that something that we can at least get a summary of that can go to you? Or is that where?
We're certainly trying to work a game plan. We do not have a lot of applicants. We have one that I think has some prospects, and we're going to interview them in about 10 days.
But can't you do it ahead of time with the assistant town accountant that's in the office? Or no? My thought is.
Leslie has been every week in pay-as-you-throw team meetings.
Yeah.
And for 8 days, helping me do budget, not 8 days in a
Yeah.
row. This time isn't there. We'll get done everything that we can. I feel like I'm saying no to you. And I don't know how to say
I know,
yes.
but the reality is, I mean, would I say her being in pay-as-you-throw meetings versus tell me how you actually created our budget? To me, it's like priority setting, and pay-as-you-throw, those are calculations that people can do in a worksheet. I can pull up town meeting budget from the warrant article.
We've known Leslie was retiring for, I think, 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, that's right, no, I'm saying, like, if there's anything we can do to just get even the baseline of those done and pull her out of some of these, and then it's not a you thing, I'm thinking of Pat Crowley and his battle books over and over and over again, and we said do them, and everyone said those are stupid, why would we need them? And we said because every year we as a
The
select
same
board.
conversation.
Every year we have the same conversation, and every year the residents yell at us for the exact same thing, and it's a definition of sanity. Insanity. We literally do the exact same thing. Every town meeting since I've sat in this chair. So I actually think I have to own this at some point, I'm not fixing it. I can't seem to even influence change.
I do like the idea of having, anybody who knew come in and then just start documenting it all. For myself, as a new select board member, whenever I started keeping a handbook that I could hopefully pass on to the next person of things that I had no idea and things that I, wanted to make sure other people knew about. So I do think that we all have to take our own considerations and just try to make the initiative happen.
We are not thinking that any new hire is going to be able to solo. So we are looking at putting together an approach which has some hands-on from Cheryl, because she's got some institutional knowledge and can help run some interference, some mentoring from a accountant that I have some confidence in if the town chooses to use somebody else, and then the base salary, and I'm hopeful I can package that all into what the overall salary would have been. But we need to provide for mentoring for this person coming in.
All right, well, I'm not letting you go for 3 hours, so we have to finish the meeting now. And I'm never asking you how long the meeting will be again, because I think you made it 3 hours.
Oh, you think I rigged it to win?
I did
win the
think you
pool?
rigged it.
I'm gonna say it's a little suspicious.
It is definitely suspect. All right,
Did you make any money on the prediction markets?
I don't know. The town administrator's report is the next item that I had, and that will be super quick, because I'm gonna time you. You're like, Mark, I'm giving you 2 minutes.
I really think the town administrator's been put through his paces.
Enough, you're good now?
The only thing really outside of this, that I think I can report, actually, I can't think of anything outside of everything we've been through tonight. That I
You went
can
through
report
most of
to the
this.
board.
All right.
If there's any questions, happy to address them, but I really think we've worked through most everything.
I think we've talked about everything. All right, meeting invitations or announcements, Vanessa?
I was just gonna say, we received the ribbon cutting invitation, so I would like to go. Does anybody else want to come?
Raj would like to go. All right, you said you'll go to all of them? Okay, ribbon cutting at 4 PM.
Do we know if economic development also wants to come? In recent history, we have asked them to join us.
Mark Frieden would love to come too. He
I
usually
think he
goes.
said he would, and I'll try. I don't know what my calendar looks like on that day, but try.
All right, so we at least have some members that will be there for photos. Future agenda items or select board reports. I have 0 to report. You have.
Yeah, so Pilot Equity Subcommittee will be meeting again this coming Monday, and we do plan on having our elected rep O'Day join us in what we hope are policy discussions. The ultimate goal of this committee will be to put forward some documentation to this committee that we hope will then end up providing some guidance on next directions, but as it currently stands, we believe the legislative route is the most fruitful path to change our current pilot arrangement. So we have invited our elected representative to partake in that discussion.
Wonderful.
Townwide planning is gonna be not the last Monday for March. It's gonna be March 23rd this month. That's my only announcement.
Raj?
I do have one.
Okay.
So we have been postponing one of those issue, town resident issue. I did send it to you. So way back in, Osmer Street was fixed very well. So her name is Carrie Khan. She came into the board and she did mention, 2018, the road was paved. Osmer Street was paved, complete paving. So it's not, during that time, they did remove one of those drainage pipes. I think, it was the DPW director's direction, the drainage pipe from the road on our backside of the was removed. She did came in, she did address the board, and then during that time, Heather was the town admin. She said, she will go to the insurance, our town insurance, $6,000 or $8,000 estimate to put that pipe back so that the drain, all the water from the road can go back up the house. So she wanted to put through the insurance. After that, I don't know where it is and.
I'll give an update, because they've come in a couple times about this, and there were some things sent out to the board. So Carter, to get you up to date, it wasn't just the two Heather had brought, there was to the property that also pulled out drainage on the property. And the reality was, it's not just putting a pipe in on the other side of the street, and our DPW crew is not equipped or has the equipment to put in that kind of extensive drainage back on that side of the road. So the request was, it needs to go through insurance, because the reality is, we didn't have, it was more than $6,000 or $8,000. I think one of them, it was over 10, which was the quote, to get the material and get the people to install drainage using somehow our DPW workers, which we couldn't, to do this. There's a lot of emails about it. I'll find some about it, but the reality was, it was twofold. It was 2018 on one side, but on the other side, which came in, was large changes to the actual property. So the request was, the reality is, it should go through our insurance, right? And if we're found at fault, we put that type of, we would fix it. But the other reality is, we didn't have the funds available to do it, and we don't have that type of crew that builds that type of thing in the road. So that's to get you caught up. There are emails about it, but it's not that, the answer provided from Heather to that resident and to our board on 2 different occasions was, the request is to go through the town's insurance, and the town will assess, right, what was taken out and also what was permitted to be put on that residence lot and what is actually sitting on that residence lot, and make a determination. But either way, if we agree to pay that, we still have to hire a company to do it. Our DPW crew doesn't have the equipment to put that type of drainage in, or even the experience to do it, where then you're doing it, what if it floods the house down from it, right? Like they don't have that type of, they're not engineers. They're our DPW crew so that's where it was left. The reality is, the resident does not want to go to our insurance company to put in the claim with our insurance company, because when you put the claim in, you do have to, as we talked about here, submit that paperwork.
My understanding is, Heather wanted to go through the insurance.
Yep,
I thought she is going, she wanted to.
No, what Heather had come to us was, the reason it needs to go through insurance is because the property has dramatically
So the property owner has to go
changed.
through the insurance?
The property owner would say, I have the damage to my house, and contact our insurance company to prove the damage is being caused by the town. The belief is, what they have said is that they don't have enough evidence to say it's from this, so even if they fix that, that's not gonna fix what's happening on the other side of the road in this house. That is what came to us, right, wrong, or indifferent. We're not engineers either, but it's, the resident can go to our insurance company to file a claim, but when you file the claim, you need to demonstrate the claim, and then also have the permits of the lot that you have changed since 2018 to go through that process. That is the request of the residents. They do not want to do that, and they want us to fix it. Without any paperwork.
My request is, as a town administrator, can you talk to her and, whatever the right thing to do? So if she has to go through the insurance.
I can do a couple of things. I can look at the file once I figure out where it is.
Yeah.
And then I can do nothing for about 2 weeks. I have to
The focus needs to
I have
be
to
our
set
budget.
some, I will let the resident know that I have the files, that I'm looking at it, but I'm here a little more than I'd like as it is, well, than we agreed to, no problems. But I've got to focus on the solid waste program, the budget, and the warrant over the next 3 weeks, which brings me back to, if this board, there will be an agenda item for March 18 of, if you have agenda items, warrant items, I need them. I'm not getting much in from different boards and commissions.
Well, I think, Raj, you can agree, the most important
No,
thing
no,
is the
just,
budget, right?
you know,
I will,
you know, you don't have to.
once I have the file, I will pledge to you to make that.
What I'm saying is, you know, you don't have to resolve the problem tomorrow morning. At least have a conversation, that's all I'm asking.
I will make sure that happens.
That's about it.
Within a couple of days of getting those
Yeah.
files, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.